Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining the EU Asia Schools eConference on Sustainable Cities and Urban Innovations. For today, we will start with the opening speech by our project leader, Dr. Tusha Chowdhury, and followed by the keynote speech by Mrs. Kathleen Ferrier. If you want to ask any questions to our keynote speaker, please type in the Q&A session at the bottom toolbar. Then we will have 11 groups of presentations and a 20-minute break in between. Now, let's invite our project leader, Dr. Tusha Chowdhury.
Good afternoon, Hong Kong, and a very good morning, India, Nepal, and Europe. This is indeed a very proud moment for all of us here at GRUEN, us being the more than 200 people from all over the globe who are participating today, tomorrow, and on Saturday in the EU Asia Schools eConference on Sustainability and Urban Innovation. The conference marks the end of the Jean Monnet Green Urban Environments Project, GRUEN, of the EU and the Hong Kong Baptist University, which in its two iterations or cycles brought together more than 400 high school students from Hong Kong, Southeast Asia, and Europe to think and talk about sustainable cities. Over the next 3 days, some of the best international teams will present their visions to an august jury and compete to be the best of the best. But it is really the journey to this point which has been the most rewarding for all of us. Under GRUEN, students use a specially designed online Moodle workshop to participate in asynchronous online discussions and share their perspectives, exchange ideas, and develop their concepts for a green urban environment, while also familiarizing themselves with key sustainability principles and best practices of the EU under its 7th Environment Action Programme. Working in small cross-cultural groups, they collaborate on building their vision for a more sustainable and a healthier living environment, which addresses climate change issues, transportation, housing, education, and work conditions as part of the urgent need to combat our negative impact on the environment. Each group is mentored and coordinated by local teachers and the GRUEN team. With hindsight, I can say we could not have chosen a more relevant issue for GRUEN. The GRUEN team, apart from me, were my colleagues, Ms. Evelina Ivanova and Ms. Casey Lamb, who managed to keep the ever-growing project on track through an incredibly difficult year, which forced us to actually abandon the idea of making Hong Kong the physical place to meet and take the ideas of our future generations forward. So actually the team planned 2 conferences. The physical one, which we had to abandon, and now we are doing the eConference, which I'm happy about because now we have we can accommodate a lot of more participants from all over the world to join us today through the online platform on Zoom. Evelina and JC, please do spotlight yourselves, say hi. Evelina, I think you're muted. That's the quote of the year. You are muted.
Hello, everyone. I'm Evelina. Nice to see you all here.
Thank you, Evelina. JC?
Hi everyone, I'm JC.
Thanks, JC. But there was one person in the team who, from the very start, maintained that a project on sustainability should be itself sustainable and not involve flights, food packaging, unnecessary use of paper, and huge amounts of garbage. And that was Dr. Brandt Knudsen, who not only helped us to set up our e-learning platforms, but perhaps more importantly, to mentor these young, motivated minds to put together their ideas and discussions coherently and work together in international teams and present those ideas to a larger audience. He's actually tuned in from the USA today and will be doing 3 straight night shifts to help us moderate the student presentations. Brandt, would you please say hello?
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. I hope this is a great success.
And so what time is it at your end?
1 o'clock in the morning, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. If you have been following our social media posts and taken a look at our website, you already know who our jury members are. Many thanks to them. Their task is not easy, I must say. We will hear from all of them, either as keynote speakers or as panelists on Saturday. So please stay tuned in. For now, I would just request them to please turn on their cameras and say hello. Evelina, could you please help me spotlight them as I speak?
Yes.
I will start with Ms. Kathleen Ferrier, Chair of the Dutch UNESCO Commission, Netherlands.
Hello, hello everybody. It's so great to be here and to be connected with all of you. Thank you.
Hello, Catherine, thank you. Ms. Laila Al-Zubaidi, Director of the Heinrich Böll Stiftung in Hong Kong. Can we see her?
Yes, one moment.
Hello. I'm not sure if you can see me, but maybe you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Laila. Hi.
Yes, hi. I'm sorry, there's no button to enable the camera as far as I can see. But hello from Hong Kong, and I feel very honored to be part of this.
Thank you, Laila. We'll come back to you. Maybe we'll just solve the camera issue in a minute. Okay, Ms. Preeti Shah, Project Manager, Educational Services of the Kyoto Institute, New Delhi, India. Preeti, you're muted.
Oh, so sorry. I hope
Now
you
we
can hear me
you.
now. Okay, great. Hello, a big hello from India, and thank you so much for giving our students such a great opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Preeti. Then we move on to Mr. Paul Zimmerman, who is Director of Designing Hong Kong and Southern District Councillor, but he's not here at the moment. So we move on. Dr. George Ma, Associate Director of the Jockey Club Museum of Climate Change at the Chinese University of Hong Kong.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I just want to apologize. I didn't expect it. I would have to enroll today, but I was just coming up to see how everything's going. And I have another things to do in the next 15 minutes, so I'll just stay around for a few more minutes and then see how everything goes. Thank you very much.
Sure, thanks, George. Jump in anytime if you like. Okay, and last but not the least, Mr. Martin Ho, Coordinator of the Global Social Economy Forum Secretariat in Seoul, South Korea.
Hi everyone, it's Martin from Korea, and I really enjoying in reading all your proposals, which is quite innovative and inspiring to me. Yeah.
Thanks, Martin. And I must mention that Martin, who's also a former student of the European Studies program at HKBU,
Yeah.
was the one who helped me actually to turn my initial ideas of this project into a fundable EU Jean Monnet application. So thanks, Martin. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and your support to GRUEN. When we talk about the jury, we must also talk about the prizes. I will not reveal all award categories just now, but would like to remind all registered attendees that there will be a poll at the end of each presentation today and tomorrow, which will be open to the audience only and will decide the audience award. So please pay special attention and stay tuned in. There's also another special prize which will be awarded by the Goethe Institute New Delhi for participating schools of the GRUEN Cycle 2. We are indeed very grateful to the Goethe Institute for helping us connect to schools in India and Nepal and making Cycle 2 a huge success, even as things were spinning out of control globally and online learning fatigue was already setting in. Teachers in these kind of projects, especially in these very special times, are our unsung heroes. And I have already mentioned their roles as mentors briefly, so I'm happy to announce that the GRUEN team has also selected 2 teachers from each cycle for their exceptional dedication and hard work with helping us in this project, and has decided to humbly recognize their invaluable contribution to the project in form of a Teachers Award. But before I leave the camera to Kathleen, I would also like to thank the HKBU colleagues who are here today for the opening session. Dr. Eva Vong, Director of the Center for Holistic Teaching and Learning. Eva, you're muted.
Oh, hello. Hello there.
Hi, Eva. Thank you for coming. Dr. Teresa Krom, her Deputy Director at the CHTL.
Hello, hello everyone.
Hi, Teresa.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
My own Head of Department of Government and International Studies, Professor Alistair Cole.
Hi, everybody. Good luck.
Thank you, Professor Cole, for joining us. Our semester has just started, so thank you for taking time off at this very busy period of the year. I'm not sure if our Vice President has been able to connect, but I must thank him for his support too for at all making this project happen. And now it is time for our first keynote, and I'm very happy to have Kathleen Ferrier to do this honors today. Born in Suriname as daughter of its first president, Kathleen is now chair of the Dutch UNESCO Commission in The Hague, Netherlands, where she was also member of parliament. She has also very deep connections to Hong Kong and Southeast Asia, where she has lived and worked for over 5 years and has continued to come back to as a passionate teacher and as a champion of human rights and women empowerment. And I'm sure these are some of the themes that are going to reflect in her keynote today, which has the very promising title of Limitlessness in a Limited Environment. We will have some time for Q&A after the keynote, so please leave your comments and questions in the Q&A section on the bottom of your screens. We might not be able to take all questions, so if you want your question to be heard, do not hesitate to put it down early. Today's panelists may raise their hands and ask their questions directly. And may I remind everyone that the session is being recorded and any kind of private recordings by the audience is not allowed. Kathleen, sorry to keep you waiting. The camera is now all yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this great opportunity. Let me say that what you all will have to say today, and for what I have seen from the work of the students, that is going to be far more interesting than whatever I can say to you. But I want to congratulate, first of all, the Hong Kong Baptist University for having taken up this fantastic and hugely important program, for making use of the idea behind the Jean Monnet program that, of course, aims at promoting excellence, and beside that, building bridges between students, academic researchers, and EU policymakers. And I cannot tell you how much it means for me here in the Netherlands, where I'm sitting now, to be connected with Korea, with India, with Nepal, with the United States, or wherever you are based, Brand. I think that what we are doing right now is what our world needs terribly, to be connected. So having made use of this opportunity, this program, really means a lot, and I'm hugely honored to be part of it and to have had the opportunity to read all your promising proposals. So let us start by looking at, since I'm based here in Europe, at what the idea is, what you all know already, behind the environmental plan of the EU. And what I will try to do now, is to share my screen. But I do not, it is here. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Can you see my screen here? Can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
No, not yet.
The green button at the bottom.
The green share screen button. This is it?
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. So limitedness in a limited environment. And what we are talking about is green urban environments, specifically the cities that we concentrate on. Just shortly, a few words as just bringing together our thoughts on something I'm sure you all know very well, that the 7th European Environmental Action Plan is called Living Well Within the Limits of Our Planet. And this plan guides the European environment policy until this year, 2020. The 8th new plan is expected by January next year, 2021. And as you also know, by the installation in December 2019 of the new European Commission that will be working from 2019 to 2024, Ursula von Leyen was chosen as the president. And as you also might know, this European Commission is composed of a college of commissioners from the 27 EU member states. And there are some very important vice presidents to this European Commission. Ursula von Leyen is the president, but one of the most important vice presidents is Frans Timmermans, who happens also to be a Dutchman, who happens to be the one who wanted to become the president himself. It didn't work out like that because politics is always full of surprises, but everybody is very happy with this woman, Ursula von Leyen, as president. And Frans Timmermans, perhaps today, is more happy than he would have ever been had he become the president. He is more happy because now, as vice president, he is responsible for the European Green Deal. He is responsible for elaborating the whole program for the EU when it comes to sustainability. Here you can see the picture of this man. And as you know, sustainability, fortunately, has become a major issue in our world, not only because of all the work and the endeavors of the European Union, but certainly also because of the vision that was developed by the United Nations. In the year 2000, more or less, the United Nations said, as organization, the only organization in our world where all countries, almost, but practically all countries of the world come together and sit around one table, we need to have goals. We need to work towards certain things, concrete things together. And so in the year 2000, more or less, the United Nations countries all together agreed on working on the Millennium Development Goals. These were 8 goals, and the countries said we're going to work together to fight poverty, to see that health is getting better, to see that education is getting better, to see that there's water for everybody around the world. And by the year 2015, we should have achieved that all. And the countries worked together, and then in the year 2015, they could see, well, we have achieved a lot, but a lot we have not achieved. There's still a lot to learn. And one of the most important things that the countries had been learning in this journey to reach the development goals was that they saw that sustainability, taking care of the planet, should have a much more important place in all their plans. And what they also learned, even more importantly perhaps, is that all countries and all people are interrelated and depend from each other. And so they have been working on developing what we call now the Sustainable Development Goals. Because development, fighting poverty, seeing that women and men get equal chances, seeing that all children can go to school, seeing that everybody has water, it will not last if we do not work on sustainability. So this idea of the importance of sustainability is now a global idea, which it was not some 25 years ago. So let's get back to the EU. Mr. Frans Timmermans, here you see him again, Mr. Frans Timmermans is a very ambitious man, and he has set up a new Green Deal. What he immediately said is that he wants the emission reduction target to be increased to at least 50% in 2030, and that other emitters should be increased, the reduction should be increased to 55%. He's working on trading systems. He is working on reducing trade alliances and free allowances for airlines. He is working on a biodiversity strategy. He is working on zero pollution ambitions, on circular economy, on promoting safe food under the title From Farm to Fork. He's working on tax policies and on a new climate culture in the EU. So he is a very ambitious man, which is important. But one very important thing has changed within all these ambitions. Until rather recently, the sky was the limit. You know, before this seventh environmental action plan, people thought that everything is possible. The sky is the limit. But now we know, now we have much more awareness of the fact that our planet, our Mother Earth, can only feed us and take care of us regarding taking into account her possibilities. We know that the sky is not the limit. We are limited in what we can do regarding to the use of our planet. That is why these new Green Deals where Frans Timmermans is working on is so important. That is why the UN vision of sustainable development is so important. And that is why your work as students is so important, because we all know that we have limited resources. That is what gives us the basis of what we are doing. So what I'm telling you is that the concept of limits is now strongly present. Our planet has limits. We have not been treating our Mother Earth in a fair way. We have exploited her. Now we have to face that there are limits. Limits to growth, limits to production. We have to limit our own possibilities because we have to be aware that our planet offers us only a limited space. And this is even more true in cities, where 80% of the world population is living now in or near cities. And often they have to deal with poor air, high levels of noise, greenhouse gas emissions, water scarcity, and lots and lots and lots of waste. And so we have seen the development of new and important insights like what I was saying, circular economy. But also, for instance, the importance that we are aware now that as human beings, we are using not only one Earth, but 1.6 Earths. We're living as if we have more than one Earth. And if you look at the picture, this slide, you see a picture of Mattes Weckernagel, who is the CEO of the Global Footprint Network. He's an interesting man who has been saying interesting things about it. So I just wanted to share this idea. And so in general, the awareness of how limited we all are. Here is some information on what the overshoot day really means. So that is how we have been living. And we have a limited world, and we have to see how we can use our planet in a proper way, not exploiting her, and we were all doing our best and our things. And now what happens? There is this completely new reality. What we see here is a virus, the COVID virus, what has changed our lives all over the world. Everybody, regardless of where you live, what your religion is, what your ethnicity is, whether you live in the countryside, in the city, or whether you live in very rich or very poor, we are all equally vulnerable to this virus. So what this virus is teaching us basically is that actually, as human beings, we are totally equally vulnerable, and therefore we equally need each other to tackle the challenges that we are facing in our days. And there comes a completely new challenge, the challenge that is brought to us because of this virus. See how HKBU and all the organizers behind this fantastic program have been able to reorganize the conference that should take place, as Professor Tushar Chowdhury was saying. We should have come all together in Hong Kong, but now we are even with a bigger group, not in Hong Kong, from our homes. And even though we cannot see each other, we have adapted our original plan to have this conference and to make it a great conference. So we all have to deal with this new reality. We face new challenges, but also new opportunity. Because certainly there is a strong relation between COVID-19 and what sustainable cities can do. COVID shows us the weak points in the texture of our human relations in our societies and in our cities. Because from one side, for the virus, we are all equal. There are no differences between any human being, but the differences, we have created them ourselves. And therefore, there are people who are more vulnerable to the virus because they have no access to quality healthcare, because they do not live in places where they can get clean water. So what this COVID is doing is making our world, our work, to see how we can work on a sustainable world where all people have equal chances and where we take into account the limits of our planet and making it possible for all people to live with equal chances. It's making it even more important. And what actually this virus is doing is that it's saying to us the limits that the planet is bringing forward to you should never be the limits in your thinking, in your creative thinking, in your thinking about solutions. in your connecting with others, because today, even more than before, we know how much we depend from each other and how much we need each other. So the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development calls on us all to imagine more sustainable, more human, and more creative cities. And that is exactly what you have been doing. Use your imagination in a limitless way. And that is what we need. Because cities are the places where people connect, where diversity can be experienced as a strength of humanity, the deep sense that to overcome any problem and any inequality, we need each other. And cities are places where resilience can be experienced, where people can connect and to use the challenges of the new era and how we deal with the limits of the earth. We are called more than ever to think limitless and to use all our creativeness as humans all over the world. And that is exactly what I have been seeing in your programs, your ideas, the way you brought it forward, in this whole journey that you have been walking, the way you have been walking, the journey you have had all together from all different backgrounds and different places, the journey that brought you here and the journey that brought forward the proposals that I have seen. As the chair of the Dutch UNESCO Commission, I want to finalize by saying that what is our leading principle as UNESCO is the idea that since war begins in the minds of women and men, it is in the minds of women and men that peace is built. And by the work that you have been doing, connecting people from all over the world, using your creativeness, is that exactly what you have been doing, building peace, thinking creatively, coming forward with new ideas. And certainly all the teachers and professors that have been guiding and enabling this journey should be greatly thanked, because they have guided your excellence as students from different parts in the world and make us see it, but make you yourself also aware of your capabilities, of your creativeness, and of your possibilities to make this world a better place for all of us. And I am sure that when it comes to that, seeing this world as a better place, we are going to hear from all of you who are involved in this in the coming years and the coming decades. And I'm looking forward to it. And I'm already grateful for what you have been doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you so much for that very inspiring talk that you gave right now. I would like to invite, before we start the Q&A, I can see Laila again. Evelina, can you put Laila on the spotlight, please, so that she can say hi like everybody else did?
Yes, of course. One moment.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, so that's Laila. She is the director of the Heinrich Böll Stiftung here in Hong Kong. She is very new to Hong Kong, has come in very stormy times, but I'm happy that she could join us today.
Yes, hello again.
Hi, Laila.
Hi.
Hello.
Very pleased to be here.
Okay, so I do not see any questions right now or comments in the Q&A section. So the Q&A section is now open. We have about a bit less than 10 minutes. So please feel free to put in your comments or your questions into the Q&A section. If one of the panelists has a question or a comment, please unmute yourself and just ask the question. You can be heard directly by all participants. So somebody needs to make a start.
Maybe I'll go first.
Yes.
I'll make a start. Hello, I'm Eva from Hong Kong Baptist University, a colleague of Tushar. Thank you, Mrs. Furia.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
for that speech. Is actually very, very inspiring indeed.
You're so kind.
Do you, in a sense, the COVID-19 has actually exemplified the divide. It's not the resources divide of the earth, right? The richer you are, the higher chances of you surviving, and the poorer you are, the lower chances. But the Sustainable Development Goals has been around for some time, and we are still trying to achieve it. But somehow this COVID-19 has pushed things faster because we have to react much more faster. So is it still realistic to think that we can wait until 2030 before we can reach some of the goals, let alone all?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this question. I agree with you. What COVID-19 has made clear to me are two things: that we as humans should not make all the divisions that we make between countries, within countries, within cities, within societies, divides between human beings based on religion, on ethnicity, on education, on where you live, because that is exactly what COVID has shown. What is the effect of the way we live, of all the divides we make? Exactly right, like you're saying, if you live in a certain place, you have access to quality healthcare. You might even not become as ill as others because you have a healthier body or a healthier place to live. So this inequality in our world, and certainly also in our cities, has become much more clear than it was before. And I think that has put an urgency on the ideas behind the Sustainable Development Goals, but also on the work that is done from Europe, from this environmental plan, because if you do not take into account sustainability, nothing makes sense. So it has all become more urgent. And that's why it's also so fantastic to have this conference organized right now. Now we see the urgency and the need of the excellence of students like the students that we have contact with now, with their bright ideas. And I wanted to use this keynote to tell them that our planet is limited, but not our minds. We should use all the creativeness, the capability of new ideas, of new connections that our minds offers us, because it is in the minds that we can build peace and connection, and it's now more needed than ever. So hopefully before 2030, we will have achieved a lot of these goals.
And I want to add something as well. Hi, it's Martin from Korea now, before he was in Hong Kong. Because we mentioned a lot that how we can maintain sustainable development, but most of the time we rely on the government or public sectors to do it. But what I'm trying to say now is that, well, as my office is called Global Social Economy Forum, I would like to give some students idea that you don't need to really rely on government or try to do lobbying to ask the government to do it. You yourself as a young people can do it as well, because there are lots of chances and opportunities to do it. For example, you can do, you can work in a social enterprise, because what is important of social enterprise, or how in my office called social and solidarity economy, is that we put social value or environmental value on top of profit, because we think that the way that we develop our planet and our economy is not sustainable at all, because we always try to get profit. So we don't care about pollution, we don't care about the salary. But if you take these factors into consideration, things will be much easier to everyone, and then we may be sustainable as well. So this is what I want to share as well. Maybe Kathleen can share your ideas as well on this.
Let me please keep reminding the audience that you can type in your questions and answers. You do not have the option to go live with your video or audio. So please do type in your questions so that we can take them one by one.
Thank you so much, Martin Ho. We have had, I have had the privilege of knowing you and working with you in Hong Kong, and it is so good to see how now from Korea, from Seoul, you're continuing this important work. I could not agree more with you. It's so important to see that we should not depend on anybody else, but be aware of the capability and the strength and the possibilities for change that we all have. Each of us, we can do something, not look at others. That is also what we are learning now in these challenging times, when we are forced by COVID to think creatively. What can I do myself? Not wait for the government, not wait for somebody else who I think knows more than I do. No, we all can make that change. And that the social well-being is indeed more important than profit. It will, on the long run, give us more than only profit. So I totally agree with you, Martin, and I think I'm very interested and follow the important work that your organization in Seoul is doing. Thank you so much for adding this.
Thank you, Kathleen. I just wanted to say that in the Q&A section, there are some positive comments and saying thank you, and also that they agree with what you're saying. You can read them into the Q&A.
Yes.
So our Q&A time is actually coming to an end. So if anybody has something to say or write, please do so.
If I may just add it to that word, right now we have been listening, and it's very inspiring. And I also read one of the comments in the chat, how do we reach more people? So
yeah.
On behalf of the Kyoto Institute, I invite one and all, because we are very open to provide you a platform to discuss and to work together on this, be it any small or a big topic on related to sustainability. We are already planning to work to ideate together on circular economy, because that's also a Science and Festival topic. I won't go into the details, but I would just like to invite all of you, whoever is looking for a platform, feel free to contact us. We can work together, and maybe you guys can be an ambassador for sustainability and inspire others as well. And that's the only thing I would like to add here. Thank you so much.
Yes, that's a very important point, what Anneke says here, that how do we reach enough people to put them in action? And that is why things like this this was almost a small project, to be honest. But then, even then, if you have these schools have actually developed such great ideas. If you can put some of those ideas into action within your schools, within your institutions, that is also already a very big platform that you have. You become an example, you become an ambassador, as Preeti just said. Anneke is asking, how do we contact the Goethe Institute in New Delhi? you can just look them up at the Goethe Institute website. They are the regional headquarters in the Indian region, so they're very easy to find. Otherwise, Preeti can contact you directly, so we can exchange email addresses, no problem. Yes, so there's a similar question. How will we proceed or give our ideas a platform if our ideas are good and workable? Would you like to take that question? That will be the last one for now. Kathleen?
Yeah, well, you know, I think that that is what you have been doing from the organizing this conference, having this journey. Already there are connections made that were not made. And use the networks that you have now as groups that have been working together. But also, sometimes it is if you have a good idea, you can look at your local government to contact them with your idea, or write an article, or post something on social media and find others who think it the same way. Or go to your teachers, and indeed to important institutions like the Goethe Institute that can help you to get a broader platform. Also, in that sense, you use your creativeness and find people perhaps around a certain cause. You can also start something. For instance, we have seen, I have seen in different places where women, for instance, started exchanging clothes, so that you do not have to buy new clothes all the time, but good used clothes they started to exchange. And this has become a very strong organization. So finding like-minded people, and also finding creative ways in connecting with other individuals, but also with other institutions, and perhaps even with government, bringing forward your ideas, can help a lot. I hope this is clear.
May I just add something to that?
Please,
From
please.
my side, I would thank you, Ms. Ferrier. I also find you very inspiring. From my side, I would just like to encourage the young people who are listening to also look up civil society organizations in your communities. In every Asian country, there are plenty of NGOs, cooperatives, organizations that work on environmental issues, all of the aspects of environment that you could think of, from urban sustainability to recycling to climate change. There's already a lot going on the ground. Not everything has to be invented from scratch. So you can join these associations. Some of them are youth-based, so they work with social media. They try to find creative means to get the message out. So I would just encourage you to look out for them. Many of them are on the internet, and join them.
Yeah.
With your own ideas.
Yeah. Sure, sure.
So thank you, Kathleen. Thank you very much. Thank you for the audience for their questions and their comments. And so we now move on to the next section, where we start with the presentations of the work of our students who have participated in the GRUEN project. For that, I would like to hand over to Brand to kind of moderate that part and call on the first participants, the first group of students, to present their work. This is always a group presentation, but we have asked our students to select one person to present their group work. So you will be hearing from one person, but this is of course always a group effort.
Okay, so for group one, the presenter is Lucia Lopez, and the backup presenter is Salma Chavez. So each of you, each group will be given 15 minutes to present. And when you have 1 minute left, I will enable my video and hold up a finger. If I hope here you can see one finger, 1 minute left. And then at the time that your presentation should finish, you'll see my video come on again. And I will cut you off at 16 minutes. So try to stay under your time limit so we can keep on schedule. Okay, is Lucia ready to go?
Yes, okay, but we have finally decided to do it between Salma and I. So that's how we're
Okay,
gonna do it.
good. It's your presentation.
Okay.
Yes, I can see you just fine.
So hi everyone, I'm Lucia. We are Lucia and Salma from Team 1, and we are going to present you a sustainable city. First of all, I would like you to get to meet our team members. From Hong Kong, there is Thomas and James. Our Indian members, Anu and Janita. And we have Nico from Netherlands, that it's been a member since the beginning, but at the end, her high school decided not to participate. And from Spain, we, Salma and Lucia. So this is the index with the 7 different criteria we have based our project on. And let's start with the first point. So it would be by Salma. Salma, are you there?
One moment, giving Salma access.
Okay.
Perhaps we should always enable both the presenter and the backup presenter as panelists, so they have the option to quickly, there you go.
Hi, can you see me?
Yes, we can see you, Salma. You're all good.
Okay, thank you. So I'll start with the first criteria, mitigation and energy use. We have established 3 criteria to present our point of view talking about this topic. At first, we have to improve the energy efficiency. Urbanization has led to massive demand for energy to power economic activity, expand infrastructure, and deliver municipal services. To improve energy efficiency, we will be promoting innovation while still focusing in results. To foster global partnerships, to strive for integrated and cross-sectoral approaches, bringing higher value and multi-benefits to clients, and to respond to client demands and needs. Moreover, we will make diagnostics and assessments of city energy use and energy efficiency potential, and to train the capacity of building to enhance understanding of urban energy efficiency and its delivery. Then we will be applying a graded use of renewable energy. Our city will be provided of energy by mainly 2 systems: solar energy and geothermal energy. Solar energy. We are developing systems, tools, and procedures to save time and money to our clients by gaining efficiency. The potential for solar energy is enormous, since it's about 200,000 times the world's total daily electric generation capacity is received by Earth every day in the form of solar energy. So it is one of the best ways of supplying our town. And then we have geothermal energy. It's a carbon-free, renewable, sustainable form of energy that provides a continuous, uninterrupted supply of heat that can be used to heat homes and office buildings and to generate electricity. Geothermal energy only produces 1/6 of the carbon dioxide produced by natural gas plant and is not an intermittent source of energy, like wind or solar. And finally, in this point, we have the community goals. review existing plans and other policy documents to ensure hazard mitigation goals are consistent with the goals of other community plans, such as the comprehensive plan and other objectives established by the governing body.
So now we have our second criteria, sustainable urban mobility. Our city center must not be a crowded place, and to achieve that, private vehicles won't be able to enter the area. Instead, we foment the use of public transport, cycling and walking as durable as possible. And for this, we need to encourage inhabitants, and to do so, bus, bike and tram lanes would be all along the city center. However, we can't be a sustainable city just fomenting the use of public transport if it is empowered by renewable energy. That's why all public transport in the city will be electric, in order also to low CO2 emissions. Therefore, instead of gas stations, there will be electric charging stations along the town. Private vehicles will also tend to be electric, and to guarantee that bicycle fomentation is done correctly, there will be bike rentals and also bicycle parkings, so that citizens can have a place to park their bikes safely.
And now I'll be talking about sustainable land use. Sustainable land use ensures a fair balanced distribution of land, water, biodiversity, and other environmental resources between the various competing claims in order to secure human needs now and in the future. The methods we will be applying are the following ones: the construction of wide bicycle lanes throughout the city, replacing coal, natural gas, and fossil fuels with renewable energy, redevelop all buildings into green buildings to allow vertical planting and construction of solar panels on rooftops in order to prevent urban sprawl, reroute all sewage discharge systems and connect them to sewage treatment plants, phase out diesel oil cars and replace them with electric cars, to guarantee the proximity of green areas and public transport for residential areas, and of course to conserve valuable buildings and landscapes. To assure a correct sleep to our citizens free from noise harmful to health, and to ensure that all schools and institutions should be subject by only low traffic noise levels during the day, we will be applying the following methods. The first one is noise reducing asphalt and renovation of schools and offices. It should be laid during road maintenance and the speed limits of roads. Working a full renovation of schools where necessary and possible. In the renovations, there will be including noise concerns and sound insulation windows in rooms facing busy roads. Then we have traffic planning and implementation of intelligent transport systems, or ITS. Establishing speed limit zones in different areas of the city, and to avoid heavy traffic, we will be gathering as much heavy traffic as possible on road stretches best suited in this type of traffic. Work on the strategy is looking at the possibilities for speed limits at night to take account of noise concerns. Many of the ITS projects will be beneficial regarding noise, and passability will be improved, ensuring smoother traffic flows. Furthermore, it will be possible to set up variable speed limit signs to the speed can be reduced at night on stretches with high noise impacts. And finally, we will be promoting the use of less noise vehicles. As it shows, the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan charging stations will be set up in places around the city, as we will promote electric cars and hydrogen-powered cars. Moreover, both would be exempt from parking charge. There will be an improvement in cyclist conditions, like cycle routes away from roads and better parking facilities for cycles.
Now let's go to our fifth criteria, a sustainable economy. In our city, we can't allow ourselves to have an economy model based on make, use, and dispose of the materials, just like the actual one used in the majority of places. Instead, we have a sustainable circular economy system based on reuse, repair, and recycle. New materials will be produced just when it will be totally necessary. That means when the old ones aren't useful anymore after they've been recycled to the limit. Although these measures on the way materials will be used, we also have to make sure that as a base of our circular economy, those materials are eco-friendly. Changing into green and reusable materials is a great solution to help protect the environment. To achieve this, products will be made from biodegradable substances and plastic will be eliminated as a general optional material of production. So then if we change the way products are made, we must also change the way they're sold. Every shop or establishment will compromise to sell their products using just the basic necessary. That means leaving aside all the extra wrapping. For example, in the case of legumes or dried fruit, they will be sold by using dispensers. Our sixth criteria is water. Clean, accessible water for all is an essential part of the world we want to live in, and there is sufficient fresh water in the planet to achieve this. In our city, we guarantee the access to clean and potable water for all the citizens. And we also make sure to keep all natural water bodies clean so that the environment is protected. To do so, we can use machines like Mr. Trash. Mr. Trash is a trash cleaner powered by solar energy and the river current, and it collects the litter that flows down the river. However, we hope it won't be necessary to use any similar machines in our city, but it may be also useful to keep the river clean from fallen leaves or branches or other materials blown by the wind.
And finally, we have the governance. First, we have to guarantee citizens' well-being. As a governance institution, we must make sure the well-being of our citizens. To achieve that, we must guarantee a stable economy that offers everyone a job and a minimum salary. We also foment culture and entertainment so that citizens are able to express themselves and relax from routine. That includes public parks and garden areas too. Having green spaces will definitely improve the well-being of the whole city.
And of course, our city's society is respectful with every individual, no matter its skin color, appearance, place of belonging, or beliefs. Moreover, we support feminist and LGBT plus community so that everyone can feel safe and included in this beautiful place. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for listening. And I would also want to thank all the coordinators that have made this project possible. Also our teacher Maria Jesus to letting us this opportunity to participate, and Brand for helping us to improve our project and prepare our presentation. Thank you so much to everyone.
Okay, very good, Lucia and Salma. Thank you for wrapping up so nicely. It's a very reasonable amount of time. We will now have a poll to select the audience award, so everyone can vote for 3 minutes. I also want to mention that Group 1 has 3 members from Europe, 2 members from India, and 2 members from Hong Kong. So it's a great collaboration across different cultures. Okay, so we can vote for the most popular award there with the audience. And our next panelist will be, there's the voting, rating the presentation 1 to 5, 5 being best. And the next presentation will be Group 2 with Annika Bussert as the presenter and Martha Bulkley as the backup presenter. Okay, excellent. Thank you everyone for participating in the poll. And I believe Annika is ready to go. Annika, do you want to test your microphone? And do you expect Martha as your backup?
Okay, so hi, I'm Ling. I'm going to present Team 2's GRUEN. And Team 2 consisted out of Rishikesh from India, Judith and Mala from the Netherlands, Martha and Eileen from Germany, as well as Federico from France and Janish from India. And we mainly worked over WhatsApp and Google Duo, and we think that worked quite well. And we're here to show you our results. So we started off by looking at what the main problems were that we wanted to change, mainly climate change due to CO2 emissions, which has led to a decreasing biodiversity. We also found that there was too much waste, especially polluted air, because factories are emitting toxic chemicals, as well as polluted water, which has led to much of waste and chemicals being put into rivers, oceans, and lakes. We also saw a lack of nature and infrastructure within streets and cities. So one example of this would be that streets are mainly designed for cars rather than for pedestrians or cyclists. And this lack of nature within the cities has also led to the alienation of the people from nature and health problems, which we'll talk more about later. So a few points to general sustainability that we would try to include within our city would be reducing the consumption of animal products, mainly by encouraging regional eating, as well as, for example, having urban gardens, as you can see in the picture down there. We'd also incorporate carbon capture plants within the landscape of the city and trying to raise awareness for climate change and a change in energy production methods. To give you a short introduction on our main focuses, here is the video. One sec. Can you hear the audio?
Yes, we can hear it fine. Thank you.
Okay, so our video was made by Janish, so thank you for that. And it simply just introduced a few ideas. I'll focus more on those in a second. Here as well is our website, which had a few little posts on each subject, which we'll be talking about. If you're interested in something a lot, you can always read up more on that later. So as already briefly mentioned by the video, our green focuses were green spaces within the city and its outskirts, as well as waste and carbon neutrality. We focused on clean air and clean water or water management, as well as a change in infrastructure. So you may be wondering, why should we focus on green spaces? This is because we've seen an alienation from nature within the population, especially this disconnect is there within cities, which are made mainly for industry rather than for us humans, or else we'd have fruits and vegetables lying around everywhere. And this disconnect has led to people making unsustainable choices for their environment simply because they do not realize what impacts each of their choices have on their surroundings around them. So we want to try and raise awareness for nature and try and restore this balance within the population so that they make more ecological choices in every step of their day. Within the city, we'd incorporate parks as well as trees alongside roads, and also have schools be taught in parks so that children are able to learn in a green and peaceful environment. We'd also incorporate green buildings with urban rooftop gardens like this one you can see on the bottom right. Here we have the structure of our ideal housing block. On one half, the green side, you can see this would be the area for urban farming or rooftop gardens, whilst on the other side, we'd incorporate solar panels to gain energy. In the backyard, there'd also be a green area filled with trees so people can simply relax after work or spend their time in nature a bit. To our city structure, due to this ideal housing block type style, we'd have a very grid-like structure. And we'd like to have a variation in building design, so we'd incorporate architects as well to make this basic design a bit more interesting and accessible to the people. We'd also try to have parks within 10 to 15-minute walk distances from nearly every house within the city, so that people are able to simply sit somewhere and relax, or maybe practice yoga in groups or have community meetings to come up with new ideas for the city. On the outskirts, we'd have a green belt around the city because the city has a high population density, which we'd also need efficient farms for. So there would be a subsidy for farmers and better so that they could afford better equipment. There'd be regulations in rotating crops so that the soil doesn't get depleted. And we actually thought quite a bit about GMOs, and we think they'd ideally not be used, but maybe in some cases for animal produce. As already mentioned, with the green belt, there would be a forest around the city, which would help to reduce CO2 and also be accessible to the people to simply come on the weekends and have a safe space or a place where they can focus on their mental health and simply regenerate after a week of work. When it comes to waste, we focus mainly on recycling, and non-recyclable waste should get used as biomass to create energy. We'd also try to decrease the amount of packaging, and if we do include plastic within our economy, we'd have plastic made out of corn or sugar beet because this is actually biodegradable. When it comes to carbon neutrality, we put a focus on transport, especially efficient public transport, which should be powered by electric or hydrogen vehicles. We'd also incorporate electric cars and promote rental cars as well as rental bikes, and generally the use of bikes and sources that don't consume energy within transport. And we'd of course try to reduce the amount of fossil fuels used. So that leads us to sustainable energy. Of course, we want to use less fossil fuels, and we thought about nuclear energy, which, if it is on the newest technological state, can actually be okay and not destructive towards our environment. But we're leaning more to nuclear fusion, which uses deuterium and tritium and can be replaced with helium-3. Now, nuclear fusion hasn't actually been invented yet, but it's a great idea, especially seeing as it has no consequences towards the environment. We'd use wind energy as well as solar panels as well, and if it is possible, water and geothermal energy. Now, just to give you a few ideas again, we have the solar panels which would be incorporated on top of our buildings, and in this case, we have a nuclear energy plant. To focus on more clean air, we would want to plant trees and moss. These would be incorporated along the streets, as already mentioned, or in the form of parks and forests. As in case you don't know, moss is actually even better at absorbing CO2 than trees are, so ideally these should always be planted together. Factories should also be away from residential buildings and be able to filter out their toxic chemicals. And of course, promoting the usage of public transport and bikes reduces the amount of fossil fuels. We try to build more electric car changing stations, so this becomes a more attractive option towards consumers, and also incorporate carbon capture plants within the landscape of the city. When it comes to clean water and clean management, water management, we came up with a few ideas, mainly that we wanted to use blue, gray, and green water for different things. I'll explain to you what these are as well. Blue water is mainly the water taken from groundwater reservoirs, and we'd use this for everyday daily needs. For example, cleaning the dishes after eating or showering. And this water would then be briefly filtered, and when it's been used, it turns into gray water. After briefly filtering it, we'd use this gray water for toilets where there's no need for extremely clean water. And once that water, the grey water, has then been used, we try and filter this very cleanly so it can be reintroduced into the environment again. Ideally, we'd only use green water for crops, and green water is any form of precipitation that comes from the sky. And we'd also try to collect, for example, rainwater in large bins for urban gardens so that when it does get a little hotter, we're still able to water these gardens. We also focused on infrastructure, which would be including a lot of trees alongside of the streets, as well as having better public transport. We'd have wider sidewalks and try to reduce speed limits for the cars. There should be cycling facilities for cyclists and, of course, increase the amount of parks and green areas within the city itself. We also thought that we could upcycle the plastic waste and actually construct roads made out of plastic waste instead of asphalt or concrete. And we'd also introduce gravity lights into the streets, which are actually pretty cool. There's lights that produce light and electricity simply by the use of gravity, so hanging down. Now we come up with all these ideas, but we want to think about how we can incorporate that into the normal landscape of any city. So we focused on funding research for nuclear fusion, as well as encouraging community activities which involve nature to promote physical and overall health. This again combats the alienation from nature so that people simply make these better green choices. So school projects could also be planting trees together with moss around the environments of the school or again along streets. And school classes should be taught in parks so that children really get an appreciation for the nature around them and the green things that are important to them. We'd incorporate more electric car charging stations, which makes this alternative more attractive again, and have restrictions in cars, for example, no cars in the city center, or in general, a reduced amount of cars in the overall city, which would lead to this option of having a car being very unattractive. So people are more likely to take public transport or maybe a bike. We'd also promote environmental studies inside of schools. And we simply want to fight against people being so alienated from nature so that they're able to make more ecological choices and really appreciate the ecosystems and the environment around them. Thank you for listening, and thank you for this project.
Very good, Annika. You came through loud and clear. Excellent work. Okay, so there'll be a poll for the audience award. We'll try to get everybody's input for 3 minutes. Next up will be Group 3 with Martin Herrmann and Ale Cartal. Also wanted to note that that group also, Group 2 that just presented, also has members from Hong Kong, India, as well as Europe.
Hey there.
Yes, we can hear you.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sounds good.
Can everyone
Yes.
see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. And please make clear if it's a slideshow or the website, whichever
It's
as
the
you're
website.
presenting.
We have a website, a video, and a slideshow.
Yes, great. Multimedia in action.
Okay, is my team partner able to speak as well?
If he's promoted to a panelist by Evelina,
Usually the rules are that you should be the only one speaking. So for only one person is to speak. And if you need some help, your team partner can come on as backup. Yeah? So try to keep it to one speaker per presentation, please.
Sure, will do, will do.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone for tuning in to this project. Today I'll be presenting the final product of my group, which is Group 3, Team 3 of the GRUEN project. Our team members include Ali Cartal from France, who is backup presenter, me, also from France, Teun Bos from the Netherlands, and Victor Lepping, also from the Netherlands, and our friends from India, Vishwa Rudresh and Saran Bhaskar. So at first, I'd like to show you a small video that I've prepared. And yeah.
Hello everyone, I am Victor Lepping of Team 3. Our team has been working on a city plan here to present to you our final product, our own green urban environment. This particular green urban environment will be following a Herrmann model of multiple nuclei. This signifies that our city is divided.
You cannot hear the sound, but
is there no sound?
It's very soft. Your sound is very soft. So
it's a little low. The audio level is a bit low.
It's the high. I apologize. It's the highest I can put it on YouTube.
In their own role in the city.
It's okay.
From one another, which prevents unplanned urban growth and overpopulation. This allows our urban environment to regulate its land use wisely and in a very structured manner. Furthermore, the advantages of this urban is that industrial zones, which tend to pollute urban environments, are located far away from densely populated areas. Additionally, the industrial zone in this urban environment is powered by geothermal or solar energy, which causes minimal pollution. Naturally, the whole city uses renewable resources to minimize emissions. On top of that, with a structured and organized mapping of different zones or nuclei, the city is able to reduce the amount of waste and control its agriculture. It is of the utmost importance for our city to implement the use of recyclable packaging, biogas, and geothermal energy. Littering is not tolerated in a green urban environment, therefore such action will have substantial fines. Our streets look as green as the picture above, if not any greener. As it comes to attention, leads to absolutely no litter. In addition to that, we support the construction of bicycle paths to reduce car use. Along with the bicycle paths, our green urban environment has a public transportation network consisting of an underground metro and more that has no additional fees and no use of price. Its funding is met by the taxes received by the state. Apart from network, these lines are an efficient transportation vehicle. They are powered from biogas. The red nuclei, first picture, Central Business District, CBD, urban environment. It is the economic heart of the city and incorporates all of the businesses. With the construction of parks around and inside the CBD, we are avoiding overcrowded environments for the citizens of the city. The purple zone corresponds to the high-density residential zone. It encompasses a considerable amount of our sustainable residential area using renewable resources. The commuter areas are as peaceful and sustainable as our CBD, high-density residential area, but they offer a much more suitable living environment for people working in agriculture. As it is located further away from the CBD, transportation to other parts of the city are free and therefore cause no distress to the commuters. Vertical buildings include farms to reduce land use and between and inside zones. There are uninhabited zones where the nature and biodiversity of the environment is preserved. Suburbs follow the same idea, preserving wildlife and forests. In conclusion, our green urban environment is completely sustainable, only using renewable resources, preserves nature and biodiversity, increases waste and littering.
We lost the audio there.
All possible to achieve.
Okay.
All right. So that's it with the video. And we have additional information on our website, which I hope I'll be able to share at the end of this presentation. We also have pictures, and we have a presentation created by our friends over in India that I'm showing right now. So Saran and Vishwa prepared this presentation for us. So our ideal city, the main objectives in our ideal city, green city, are to ensure proper city planning. This helps us to prevent future problems such as having to relocate industrial zones to accommodate citizens or having large amounts of pollution in proximity to citizens. So proper energy. proper city planning, we want to increase and develop the life of our citizens and the standards for our citizens. Proper city planning will make sure that no citizen has to live in proximity of heavily industrialized areas. It would also ensure that factories have different ways of removing waste to make sure that there's no dumping of waste into rivers or the environment, as this causes disease and death among other human and living organisms. Proper city planning would ensure that this does not occur and that there are other means of waste management. We would do this by using the Harris-Oman model of multiple nuclei, which separates cities into multiple zones. This ensures that industrial zones, commercial zones, and residential zones have their place and can grow in their own space without prohibiting growth in other zones. We would, however, ameliorate that model to fit in our city's needs, as it has some minor flaws. This is the Harris-Noble model of multiple nuclei, where you can see that the different zones, industrial zones, industrial suburbs are farther away from the population. So this is also another example that industrial zones are farther away from the citizens. The same can be seen here. I hope you understand it. Efficient energy management and conservation. As the population grows and the demand for energy grows, to meet this increasing demand of energy, we have established a few solutions. First off, we like to limit personal travel as much as possible. Commuting and traveling the city should ideally use public transport. To ensure this, there has to be a broad availability of buses, trains, trams, and subways. But the system also has to be easy to use and able to reach nearly every destination. A good example of this would be the public transportation system in Hong Kong or Tokyo, as it is readily available and has a, of course, proportional to the population, huge area. By doing this, we would essentially limit the amount of fossil fuels needed for commuting by car, for example. Our public transport would ideally use electric or renewable resources, and buses would ideally be either fully electric or running on biogas, biofuel. And this would remove a huge amount of noise caused by personal vehicles as well. We would ensure that the energy used by the population comes from non-conventional or renewable sources, which are both pretty much the same, with conventional sources being fossil fuels and non-renewable energy sources. We want to promote the use of such types of energy by ensuring its availability. This would also help us reduce the carbon output by a considerable amount, thus contributing to the environment. Here are a few examples of non-conventional energy sources. They include wind energy, solar energy, ocean, thermal energy, tidal energy, hydropower, and biogas generation. And they help us conserve our natural resources. Here are a few videos that you'll be able to see once I've shared the website link. Maintaining the green in the city is a very important part of city planning. By making sure that the green spaces can thrive, we also help ourselves. Green areas help keep the air fresh and reduce pollution. They also help the city cool off, which is especially important in this time of uncertain weather. Due to the decreased population, we would also reduce the toll the population takes on the human body and mind, thus increasing productivity and the economic output. To ensure this, we can plant trees and plant along sidewalks, alleys, and streets. We can also build parks with examples of urban parks, being the Central Park in New York City or the Englischer Garten in Munich. We would also subsidize the establishment of rooftop gardening and urban gardening in general, thus making it attractive for individuals to contribute to the green in the city. Here are a few really far away examples of what we mean by urban gardening. And these are some already established ideas. Thank you for listening to that presentation. And yeah, can I make sure that the link to the presentation is shared after this conference?
Yes, we will share that. If you give us the permission, we will share it.
All right. So that's it. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Brent and the team, for listening as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Very good, Martin.
Okay. So let me just jump in with a few housekeeping rules while you are polling. The polling goes on for 3 minutes, and we also need some time to compile the results. So between two presentations, there's about a 5-minute gap. I think that is also what is creating the technical problems with the polling, that everybody is polling and then there is a presentation going on. So there is some kind of overlap. But please don't worry if you cannot vote. We will try to look into the problem as soon as we can, and should get it under control. Yeah. But please allow enough time for the polls to finish.
Yes, I think Martin was very excited to get started there, but wait until you're given the green light to get started.
Yes.
And that way we'll be all ready for, and have both backup and the primary presenter ready. So that was group 3. The speaker was Martin Herrmann, and the backup was Ali Cartal, both located in France. The other members are from India and the Netherlands. And I want to make clear for group 2, we had Annika and Martha from Germany, Federico from France, 2 other members from the Netherlands, and 2 from India. So really spanning the globe for group 2. And thank you, group 3. Excellent work. And up next is group 4 with the presenter, was it Annette? And backup of Victoria. And if the audience has any questions, you can still submit your questions in Q&A, and we'll try to get around to answering those as soon as possible.
Okay, you have to wait for the presentation to start, please. Do not start your presentation now.
Yep. Just share your screen and then wait patiently. But I'm happy for you to share your screen and get all ready to go. As Tushar said, we'd prefer it if you only have one presenter, but if you practiced with handing back and forth, and that's the way you're most comfortable, that's fine too. Okay, coming up on 3 minutes for the poll. Last chance for answers. Sorry, inputs on the poll. There you go. Okay, so Annette is the presenter and Victoria is the backup presenter. Are they both ready as panelists?
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, can hear you just fine.
Thank you.
And yep, there's your screen. Victoria's screen, okay.
Okay, are we ready to start, Evelina?
Yes, we are ready to start.
Okay, and off you go. Good luck.
Okay then. Hi everyone, my name is Annette, and today I'll be representing Team 4 on presenting our ideas on building a green city. So our group is consisted of 6 members. Victoria and I are from Hong Kong, Justin and Jason are from Indonesia, and Irene and Ivan are from Spain. So our presentation is going to be split into 3 main parts. First, we'll talk about the problems we're facing, and then we'll talk about our criteria and our solutions. So let's talk about the problems our cities are facing right now. As of 2019, there are around 55.7% of the world population living in urban areas, while our resources are continuously being depleted. For example, it's estimated that there are only 50 years of oil reserves left before we run out. So, with this high demand from our growing urban populations, alongside energy strains and the depletion of resources, we have to tackle these issues simultaneously. There's also increased pollution and higher carbon emissions from urban areas since there are a rising number of cars and more industrial processes, and this all pushes us to the verge of reaching tipping points due to the environmental issues we're facing and the climate crisis. So, these concerns all pressure governments to design green, sustainable urban cities with long-term solutions to mitigate the impacts of the climate crisis. Our team has identified two major problems at hand that we would have to focus on. The first problem would be the health of citizens. Healthy citizens will form a healthy society, and this would also affect workplace efficiency and subsequently the economy of cities or countries. So it is important to maintain a healthy population in an urban city. The second problem we'll have to focus on is the loss of natural capital and biodiversity, since most, if not all, of our resources are taken from nature. And if we lose our natural capital, it would lead us to a very worrying future and a lot of unknown environmental dangers that would be harder for us to tackle. And currently in 2020, we're also facing a pandemic. In light of COVID-19, we've identified two major environmental problems. The first problem would be the plastic waste we're generating due to the amount of takeouts and plastic packaging and masks that we are using. And the second problem would be the increased use of electricity since more people are staying at home and using their electrical appliances. As mentioned before, with the urban population continuing to rise, there are more possibilities of emerging infectious diseases, which would demand more social reforms in our society as well. So our team has come up with 4 main criteria that we think would be essential to urban planning, and the first criteria would be air quality. This heavily affects citizens' health, where around 4.2 million deaths are globally linked to ambient air pollution. Greenhouse gases are also responsible for a greenhouse effect, which would damage our ozone layer and raise temperatures, and this would cause more future problems that we would have to handle. So a lot of pollutants are caused by car emissions and the burning of fossil fuels in industrial processes. We would also like to highlight the link between transportation and air quality, where 22% of carbon dioxide emissions are actually emitted from the transport sector. So, to reduce the amount of pollutants we are breathing in, we need to look closer at the transportation sector of a city and not just the emissions caused from industrial processes. Our second criteria would be water quality. Since water is the source of life and we depend on it for a lot of daily practices and lifestyles, such as drinking or farming or cleaning, and we're overlooking a lot of waste disposal into our water systems, for example, fertilizers, waste, or toxic chemicals. So we'll need to keep our main water sources clean to prevent more deaths or illnesses caused by these unsafe water sources. Some of the consequences with improper water management could also lead to serious long-term problems, such as eutrophication with farming problems. Our third criteria would be to protect biodiversity, where it would contribute a lot to our natural capital and is vital for various industries. We're also depending on a lot of natural feedback loops seen in a healthy ecosystem, and this can help us maintain or restore balance within our ecosystems. So the loss of biodiversity can lead to more human crises, such as the Nipah virus in 2018, which was caused mainly from the loss of biodiversity, and therefore our group thinks that there must be minimized disturbance to our natural areas when we develop our green urban environments. And last but not least, our fourth criteria is eco-innovation, where we think that this can be connected to all the other criteria, since it could encourage communities to take into account of environmental concerns, and new methods, ideas, and products that are favorable for the environment can be very helpful in changing how our society works and replace our old ways with newer and better ways. This can also help create job opportunities and stimulate the economy from within. So, what are some of the solutions that we have come up to meet all of these 4 criteria? We're going to talk about our solutions divided into 4 categories of urban planning, where we will introduce these solutions in these 4 categories. The first category would be residential areas. Our group aims to create more people-friendly neighborhoods, which would be focused areas for residential uses rather than for other purposes like transportation, commercial, or industrial uses. So this would reduce the pollution that we face in those residential areas. We also acknowledge that there will be more competition for space in urban areas since our urban population is continuously increasing. So we want to utilize rooftop spaces and building walls to the maximum by adding more solar panels or greenery. So we can use these spaces we find in our cities for energy generation, for a food source for residents, or to mitigate the impacts of urban heat islands. We want to encourage more implementation of farms or gardens within households so we can educate more people on having their own food source and to create a better quality area for residents. For native plant or animal species, we want to integrate these into our urban neighborhoods so we would not lose the biodiversity we find within different areas from all over the world. And these plants can also help us lower temperatures and provide residents for a greener, more comfortable city to live in. So, I'm sure that everyone here would know how beneficial it is to be able to have a circular economy in the city. And to do so, we must pay attention to the input and the output of the economy, which would be the resources and waste management. So first, for resource management, our group thinks that more tariffs and campaigns by government should be added by the government or other organizations so we can encourage the production of renewable energy. We want a slow but steady transition from fossil fuels to green technology, since fossil fuels would take a long time to replenish, and we want to stop depending on these diminishing resources. Different renewable energy sources used should be chosen according to the geographical or topographical location of the urban environment, where solar panels would be placed in sunny, flat areas, and wind power would be placed in coastal areas or islands. For waste management, we want stricter government supervision where they may require extra fees from factories or companies that have improper waste management, or they could provide more tax benefits for those that do have proper waste management. The extra fees could be put into filtration processes where we can install these and limit the pollutants from entering our air or water systems. It's very important for city planning organizations to not neglect this part of urban design, since the neglect and improper disposal of waste can lead to a lot of future problems. So some solutions can be the uses of biofuel, composting, or more eco-innovative ways to turn waste into a resource. So one very good case study we found is from Sweden with the waste to energy scheme. From this case study, we can see that the benefits and the convenience of these systems are the key factors to implementing these into an urban environment successfully. So in Sweden, they put waste into low carbon incinerators where they can generate electricity and heating, which would be very beneficial for residents. Citizens can also recycle cans or PET bottles in exchange for money, so there is also this benefit. And the convenience of these waste bins placed into these cities would also help with convincing citizens to adapt to this system. Communal waste management is another good way to implement more waste management and recycling systems in different communities, where smaller size initiatives can be easier to implement into people's daily lives and encourage more people to join in with the movement. Some examples would include the Hong Kong neighborhood recycling initiatives like Waste No More or the Foodwise Charter. And lastly, our last category would be transportation. So our group wants to have more bicycle rental systems within these urban areas, like the Velib system in France, and we want to increase the quality of roads and transport systems, such as wider streets or safer public transport spaces, so we can ensure that these transport systems are actually being used by residents. The shipping processes of mass-produced products should also not be neglected, where perhaps bulk deliveries and greener packaging should be encouraged, such as using bamboo for packaging. The carbon emissions produced in shipping should also be included in calculating the extra fees required by companies and factories, as mentioned before, so the government can use these money to implement more proper waste management. For heavy traffic areas, we want to have more congestion fees, such as the Central London Congestion Charge Zone, where we can reduce the pollution found in these areas. One case study is the Barcelona Superblocks. This would limit the number of cars crossing city centers and residential areas, and we found that the results of this superblock is very beneficial, with a lot of reduced pollution for noise pollution or air pollution and more pedestrian space, so it could overall increase the quality of residential areas. For electrical cars, we want to encourage use of electrical cars through company use, where perhaps more tax benefits can be given to companies with electrical company cars. However, the source of electricity in different cities should be non-renewable, since if they are using fossil fuels, then it might become a bit redundant. And some other solutions that we've also thought of that do not fit into those 4 categories are eco-innovation, where we can add more competitions or workshops to help young minds raise their environmental awareness, like how GRUEN is doing this conference for us. And more bursaries and financial aid for new eco startups and businesses should also be added, so they can have less disadvantages in transitioning into these industries. Wildlife sanctuaries should also be prioritized to maintain a healthy ecosystem and keep those numbers of native species up in different areas. So lastly, in this slide, we've put all of our solutions together and connected them into the 4 criteria we've made. And as you can see, a lot of these solutions are interconnected. They would help with more than one criteria, which is the goal here. So we're not only looking at one criteria alone. To conclude, although planning an urban environment is difficult with a lot of factors to keep in mind, where we're not even able to cover all the aspects of urban planning in this presentation, it's especially important that environmental aspects are to be acknowledged in urban planning. A nexus approach should be used by governments, where they would take account of all criteria instead of focusing only on one criteria when developing urban cities. And problems should be tackled not when they arise, but before, so it's easier to prevent future problems than to undo the damage we've done already. And eco-innovation should be used to assist in transitioning, where new ideas can be used to improve our current systems. And EAP objectives should be used as a guideline on what to focus on. All in all, the impacts of global warming must be minimized when building a green city, and there must be a lot of communication between governments and organizations to make things work. So we'd like to end our presentation with this quote: "To cherish what remains of the earth and to foster its renewal is our only legitimate hope of survival." Thank you all for taking the time to listen to our ideas and for providing us with this opportunity to share. And let's work together towards creating a more green urban environment. Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Very good, Annette. So that was group 4 with Annette and Victoria, both based in Hong Kong. Other members are based out of Spain, Algeciras in Spain, and the other 2 members are from Indonesia, Jason and Justin.
Yes, a very international group. Now you can see the new poll. One thing I would like to mention is that we haven't seen the poll results for 1 or 2. Evelina will share them in a minute. We can share them again. So before we do the next presentation, we will share the results of poll 1 and poll 2. Poll 3 you already saw, and group 4 is polling now. So now please poll for group 4.
Next up is group 5 with Marco as the presenter and Jimmy as the backup presenter, both based out of Hong Kong. Other members are from Spain and India.
Some of you who are using either the Zoom app from your phone or using the Zoom browser might have problems with the polling. That's what we have discovered now for the. So for the best results, please use a computer and try to download Zoom on your desktops for best results on the poll.
Also, I'd encourage all the students to, when they're presenting, to share their video. It's always nice to put a face to the name and the voice. Annette, if you're still there, if you want to share your video, and Victoria can say hello or wave. And keep in mind that if you do have audio problems, I recommend you turn off your video, or I will do it for you if the audio gets too squeezed by bandwidth. Okay, Marco, I see your presentation ready to go. Please wait for the green light. And thank you for sharing your video.
In the meanwhile, Victoria, group 4, if you can see the Q&A, there's a question which says, what do we mean by greener packaging?
Hello, I'm Victoria from Group 4.
Yeah.
Hi,
Yes,
we
Victoria.
can hear you.
There's a question for you.
I can't see the previous questions.
There's just one question. I'll just repeat it for you. It says, what do you mean by greener packaging?
Oh, okay. I'll explain that now. So greener packaging. So instead of using plastic and bubble wraps for when you buy stuff from overseas, so instead of plastic and bubble wraps and also the paper, the card boxes, you can use other alternatives such as bamboo or banana leaves that is also really more a greener packaging. So instead of these one-time materials such as plastic or paper, you can use these greener alternatives to wrap your products and ship. So these could reduce the trash that you have after caused by shipping.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions that have arisen from our presentation?
So now you can see the poll results of group 1. And now you can see the poll results of group 2.
Keep in mind this poll is for the audience voting. The judges will have their own separate voting for the day 3 finalists, but it's always interesting to get input from everybody to see what all the attendees think. the presentations.
Okay, so I can already see Marco ready to present.
Mm-hmm.
So Marco, please go ahead now.
Okay, sure. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Group 5, I would like to share our green city, IOTA. And our motto today is show its worth, save the earth. So here's our team, and we are from Spain, India, and Hong Kong. So let me introduce the criteria of our green city. We have set 6 criteria for our green city. First is to utilize renewable energy. Second is to abide by principles of sustainable development. Third is to advocate recycling projects. Fourth, to protect water purity. Fifth, to preserve nature and biodiversity. And finally, to control noise levels. So let's go to the first criteria about renewable energy, which includes wind, hydraulic, and solar energy. So now, let's take a look at our designs in the software, City Skylines, and also Sim Cities. As you can see here, we have constructed an array of wind turbines in the rural area of our city. And also we have some hydraulic power generators being installed in the canals and also rivers. Down below, you can see the solar panels we have constructed in the rural areas, as these areas can receive the largest amount of sunlight from sun. And here we'll also install some solar panels on the roof of some outdoor car parks so as to increase the efficiency. So what are the environmental benefits of using renewable energies? Well, first of all, they're clean as they do not produce atmospheric emissions. Second, they can reduce the CO2 emission as they can approximately reduce 10 to 11 million tons of carbon dioxide in the future. Third, they're domestic sources of energy, and so their supply is abundant and inexhaustible. Finally, they're sustainable as they can be generated repeatedly. So now, let's take a look at the social benefits. First, it helps improve people's life, especially for solar panel installations. As long as there's sunshine, solar energy can be deployed anywhere. This is especially useful for remote regions with no access to any other sources of electricity. Independent solar systems could be deployed in these remote regions and improve the lives of millions of people. And here are some successful examples currently. There are also some economic benefits, which includes enabling industry growth. The implementation of wind power has an annual economic impact of about 36.1 billion euro on its economy. And it also helps excite rural areas' economy, as wind power pays landowners $245 million in these payments every year. Thirdly, it helps create more job opportunities. According to Wind Vision report, wind power has the potential to support more than 716,000 jobs by 2030. And according to the National Solar Job Census, in 2019, jobs in the United States solar industry increased nearly 17 times faster than the overall economy. So let's go to the next criteria about sustainable development. What means by sustainable development? Well, there are 4 main concepts in sustainable development, including social cohesion, economic development, environmental conservation, and also intergenerational equity. And we have to strive for balance between these 4 domains. However, let's take a look at this high polluting sector, which is the animal agriculture sector. It does not abide by the sustainable development principles, as it only focuses on the economic development. So let's take a look at how catastrophic it is to our environment. First of all, it consumes a large amount of water. As you can see from the diagram on the left, the industry of hydraulic fractioning for natural gas uses 100 billion gallons of water per year in the US. This is already a very staggering figure. However, the animal agriculture industry uses 34 trillion gallons of water per year in the US, and it also accounts for 55% of water consumption in the United States. You may ask, what are the major consumptions of water in the industry? Well, first, it might be the water footprint of growing crops. Second, it will be feeding and cleaning the livestock. Now, take a look at this visualization. By consuming a hamburger sold in the McDonald's, you're actually using 660 gallons of water. which is equivalent to 1,500 hours of non-stop showering. This is how immensely terrible the sector uses a large amount of water. Another serious environmental problem is that it produces lots of greenhouse gases. Take a look at the diagram on the left. All transportation globally produces 6.5 billion tons of greenhouse gases per year. This is already very shocking. However, for this sector, animal agriculture, it produces 25.5 billion tons of greenhouse gases per year globally, and it is responsible for 91% of the loss of rainforest in Amazon, which releases a lot of carbon dioxide back to the atmosphere. And what are the major emissions of greenhouse gases in this industry? Well, first would be the transportation of crops, and the second one would be livestock's flatus and belch. So, I would like to introduce our group's inspirations, which is to implement a sustainable agriculture sector, which strives to balance between economic development and also environmental conservation. And our group has chosen to adopt the crop livestock integration model and utilize the methane gas produced. So let's take a look at this demonstration video. As you can see here, water can be recycled within the system. For example, water used for cleaning livestock's body can be used to irrigate the crops. And the crops planted can then be used to feed the livestock, so as to reduce the carbon and water footprints due to crops. Also, there's a glass-sealed area for livestock activities, so gases emitted by livestock can be collected. There will also be a ventilation system connected to an external gas processing system. So let's take a look at the gas processing system. And here's the system. First of all, there will be a demethanizer, which helps extract the methane gas from the collected gas. Then there will be a steam methane reformer, which extracts the hydrogen gas from methane, and the hydrogen gas extracted can be used in the production of hydrogen-oxygen fuel cells, which can be used to power electric vehicles. And most importantly, these fuel cells does not produce carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, as it only produces water and steam. So it is 100% clean for use in vehicles. Let's go to the next criteria about recycling. And here are designs in SimCity. In SimCity, we have recycling factories built as close to the urban areas as possible, so as to reduce the possible CO2 emissions due to transportation. So what are the environmental benefits? Well, first of all, it helps conserve precious natural resources. Currently, there are 4,000 known minerals, and only a few hundred is common. The remaining are rare. So recycling is required for the conservation of these resources. Without mechanisms of recycling, humans can run out of resources one day. Secondly, it helps reduce carbon emissions. As in the United States, it has successfully reduced the country's carbon emissions by a net 49 million metric tons. And in the United Kingdom, it has successfully reduced CO2 emissions by 10 to 15 million tons every year. There are also some economic benefits, which includes creating job opportunities. According to the US Recycling Economics Information Study, there are over 50,000 recycling establishments that have created over 1 million jobs in the US. Another economic benefit is that it helps save the cost of waste disposal. For example, in New York, recycling helps save $20 billion per year. And a study conducted by the Technical University of Denmark also points out that in 83% of the cases, recycling is the most efficient method. The fourth criteria is sea protection. Currently, there are a few major problems, including the first one, maritime transport. The European Commission estimates that emissions of air pollutants from ships cause 50,000 premature deaths annually and 60,000 million euros in health costs in the European Union. Another problem would be the plastic prices. Take a look at the pie chart on the left. Sources of plastic in the sea, 80% of them are from land. And currently, at least 267 aqua species have been entangled in plastic or have ingested plastic. And 50 to 80% of turtles are found dead due to ingesting plastic products. Also, chemical factories and heavy industry. It is estimated that 100,000 new chemical substances have been produced and disseminated to the environment, which is toxic to living things. As to humans, there are three major health risks. First of all, it will shorten our lifespan. Second, it will cause health diseases. And finally, it may lead to verbal inability. The fifth criteria is about nature and biodiversity preservation. So what is biodiversity, you may ask? Well, biodiversity includes the number of different organisms and their relative frequencies in an ecosystem. The biodiversity of a nation depends on its vast wilderness of living species. It also tells how enriched the nation is. The more diverse the nation's ecology is, the better the nation is. However, our world's biodiversity is shrinking because of the environmental degradation we have caused, including intensified pollutions, illegal wildlife trades and poaching, climate change, and also habitat fragmentation and deforestation. All these have led to the result that a lot of species have become critically endangered, including the hawksbill turtle, Amur leopard, and also the black rhino. So let's go to the final criteria about noise level. What is the noise level? Well, in atmospheric sounding and noise pollution, ambient noise level is the background sound pressure level at a given location. And why is it so important to a green city? Because first, it helps in giving a silent and peaceful society for the people who reside. And second, high noise levels can have a harmful effect on humans, as well as animals, such as cardiovascular effects and coronary artery diseases. So, what can we do for the aforementioned problems? Here, I'll introduce our solutions and aspirations in our city planning of IOTA. As you can see here, we have designs of greening in city planning. We have green roofing design for skyscrapers. We also have planting of trees and also expansion of green areas and expansion of greenery near main roads so that we can use them as natural noise barriers and can absorb a lot of carbon dioxide produced by vehicles. So what are the environmental benefits? Well, first of all, greenery reduces the ambient temperature. Also, it increases biodiversity and purifies the air. For the social benefits, it increases the feeling of well-being, offers healing environment, and acts as natural noise barriers, as I've just mentioned. So here, let's take a look at the overview of our city planning. As you can see here, there are wide distances between buildings so that we can ensure that every building can receive an adequate amount of natural sunlight in the morning so that they don't need to spend a lot of electricity on their lighting system, which actually helps decrease the CO2 emission caused by generation of electricity. The next feature is about expanding the economic aspect in some rural areas. If the government wants to develop these areas, we'll recommend it to lower the heights of the building in these rural areas so as to prevent the occurrence of the wall effect, which traps a lot of heat within the community. This also, of course, ensures that every building can receive sunlight from the sun. There's also the third consideration. When we're talking about we want to build a new economic center or some urban areas in some, or revitalize the rural areas into urban areas, we'll also try to preserve rivers in the city because there are two significance. First is that it helps lower the ambient temperature. And second, algae living in rivers can actually help absorb a lot of carbon dioxide from the environment. And that's all for the aerial view of our city IOTA. Again, our motto is show its worth, save the earth. So, in conclusion, protecting our nature is important to every one of us because nature plays a key role to maintain the biodiversity of the world. And preserving nature is the key step to withhold the biodiversity of the world. It is true that our power is very limited, but as long as we, humans, group together and strive for a change, a better and cleaner world will just be around the corner. Well, our city's name, IOTA, actually means a very small amount. Indeed, every one of us only have a small amount of power to change the whole world. But as the old saying goes, many a little makes a mickle. With unity, we can build a better community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco. That was a very excellent presentation.
Very good. Marco, I see a question under Q&A from Twinkle. She asks, during construction of solar panels, a lot of carbon dioxide and other harmful gases are produced. Then how can we tackle it? as such gases are not good for our surroundings. So Marco, if you want to address that.
Yes, sure. So actually, I'm so sorry because I think I missed an important page in my presentation. Just wait a moment. I'm sorry about that. Which leads us to the reports that we have created, and okay, I'm going to share the screen again. Just sorry about that. Okay, so yes, this is a report, and we have actually introduced a lot of cutting-edge technologies in this report, and you can scan the QR code below, or my backup speaker Jimmy will also send a link in the chat box below. And also, so yeah, here I would like to address the problem mentioned due to the construction of solar panels, which actually create some carbon dioxide as mentioned. So actually we have something called the direct carbon dioxide managing system, which is actually a set of, it looks like a ventilators. It can actually absorb or extract the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and they can transform the carbon dioxide into useful products. For example, for daily uses, there may be some mist effects for the stage management, so that we can convert the carbon dioxide into some useful products for that. So yeah, thank you for your question. And I'm sorry that I didn't further elaborate on that during my presentation. So yeah, feel free to ask more questions about my presentation.
No, it was an excellent presentation. I think all of us learned something. Okay, so we have a couple more minutes for the poll for the audience to vote on the presentation. And that was Marco Lee from Hong Kong with his backup presenter Jimmy, also from Hong Kong, other members from Spain and India. Next up is Group 6 with the presenter Shasika from India, and her backup presenter is Trishini, also from India. Other members are from Hong Kong and Spain.
So, a warm greetings to the respected judges.
Just wait a minute, please.
Wait.
Yes, sir.
Not yet.
I'm glad you're eager, but we'll have to give everybody a chance to vote.
Yeah.
There's still a few more seconds.
Yes. Brant, it might be good if you just give them a signal to say that you will say start, and they should start.
Okay, I will.
It's just that we're doing this online, so it just overwhelms the system sometimes.
There you go. There's the polling results for Group 5. Okay. All right, well, I think that concludes. Go ahead.
A warm greetings to the respected juries, the teams, and the audience. Here we are, Team 6, to present you all our ideas that we have clubbed together as the project Mirchi. Main innovation, technology, culture, health, efficiency, ecology. I'd like to start my presentation by introducing my friends. Martha and Paula as video producers, Edmund and Marky as designer and writer, and myself and Trishini as researchers. In this presentation, I'm going to cover up circular economy, city design, transport, technological advances, energy performance, air and water, and well-being. Let's start with relation between Environment Action Plan EAP objectives and our GRUEN city. Objective 1, natural capital. In our city, we preserve biodiversity and teach people how to live together with ecosystems. Objective 2, resource efficient economy. Our economy is based on circular economy and bioeconomy. Objective 3, healthy environment for healthy people. We have some reforms that helps everybody to live in a big city with innovative elements that improve air quality and technologies that improve medicine and educational field. Objective 4, green incentive. This incentive will concern people to do little things that makes difference. Objective 5, technological advances. Smart technologies will help those sectors to be innovative and eco-friendly. Education and medicine sectors will have latest idea to improve job conditions. Finally, our project Michi, a sustainable, efficient, green and eco-friendly city is based on those EAP objectives. This city is created with the intention to prove that if we work together for a green future, city can coexist with nature. So let's start with circular economy. Circular
Ashika, can
economy
you please
is an
switch on your videos? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Could you please switch on your video?
Sure, sir.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So let's start with circular economy. Circular economy is an action of reuse, recycle, and reduce the use of renewable resources to a finite resources to make a new thing. To create a city, we need these 7 pillars. Number 1, material can be cycled at continuous high value. 2, all energy is based on renewable resource. 3, biodiversity is structurally supported and enhanced. 4, human society and culture are preserved. 5th, health and well-being of human and other species is structurally supported. 6th, human activities generate value in measures beyond just financial. 7, the economic system is adaptable and resilient. In next slide, you can find the term bioeconomy. Bioeconomy is similar to circular economy and it concerns more about ecosystem and its preservation. Under the bioeconomy, bio-based sectors will be boosted by investments in markets, innovative bio-based solutions, and developing substitutes to plastic. Deployment of local bioeconomy is by sustainable food and farming, sustainable forestry, and diverse revenues for farmers and fishermen. To understand the ecological boundary, we should gain knowledge based on biodiversity and ecosystem and biodiversity in primary production. Here's the example of bioeconomy that ensures food security, moving from fossil-based economy to bio one, and unlocking the potential of sea and ocean. In next slide, you can find the recycling system of our city. Comprises design, production, distribution, consumption, repair, and recycle. Under design, we motivate companies to think an efficient design that motivates people to use finite resource as efficient as they can. About production, we are going to use biodegradable products as much as we can. We'll create new law that makes companies think about a less polluting production. This new law establishes different levels of pollution. So companies will be concerned about how important it is not to pollute. Distribution is an important step in circular economy. All distribution services will have electric vehicles. The government will motivate people to buy local products to improve conditions of local market. Under consumption, we motivate people to consume what they really need. About repair, we have more spaces in our city where you can repair objects, so you can reuse it instead of throwing it. Each company will repair every damage of their product. Under recycle, we have new methods of recycling for organic waste and plastic. Organic waste will be put into a bin which has got a system that produces compost with this material. It can be used for gardens and vegetable patch instead of using a chemical product. And plastics, in supermarkets for example, you're going to buy a bottle of water. You will pay for the water and bottle separately. So when you have drank that, instead of throwing it, you can go to supermarket and put into one special machine. This machine will pay you back the amount you have paid for the bottle. It will work for every tin and plastic containers. Energy can be obtained from the waste that cannot be separated and cannot be recycled. They can be transformed into biogas. This can produce heat as much as diesel and natural gas. This way, it can be used to generate electricity and heat. Moving on to the next slide, we have 3 tips like seaweed bags, containers mission, and fast food containers. Seaweed bags are biodegradable, which are food for animals and is a substitute to plastic bag. Containers mission keep the city clean and it's for plastics and tin. This gives incentive for people to recycle. Fast food containers. These containers are made up of plastic and biodegradable plastic. It's made up of paper and biodegradable plastic that promotes Tetra Pak and is an ecological solution. Little things makes the difference. Here are some substitutes to plastic like thermal bottle, Tetra Pak, cloth bag, and glass container. Let's move on to second topic, city design. In this slide, you can find the 3 goals of urban design: green, eco-friendly, and sustainability. From this Venn diagram, you can find how GRUEN city comprises green, eco-friendly, and sustainable city. And this is a city plan with green spaces, residential area, recreational area, power zone, and commercial area. Here are some prototype images of buildings that we are working on, like museum, school, flat, company, hotel, and airport. In our city, the structures are innovative and eco-friendly. Rooftops are full of greens. Our city's energy is only based on renewable one, and we have special zones of gardens with unique plants. And here is the detailed structure of a building design of a flat. It's the overview of the flat. Balcony and the terrace. And terrace with path. The next slide, you can find the Central Park, the main lung of the city that relieves stress, improve mental health, preserve biodiversity, reduce urban heat island effect, protects natural ecosystem, and is the place for art, relax, and fun. Green spaces for music, art, sports, and fun like green theaters, green spaces to relax, art gallery, athletic tracks, children parks. Let's move on to the third topic, transport. New road, new life. In our city, we promote people to use electric vehicles, where we have charging points which are structured with solar panels on the top. And we have apps to reserve a place in parking, and charging at night is cheaper. We have new taxi design, which is like similar to small smart buses that reduces traffic jam. Here are some examples of electric vehicles like bicycle, trains, buses. Bicycles are more accessible to place than public transport. Electric trains are powered by wind power, and eco buses has discount for old people. Here are some benefits of public transport. Like it helps people, those who cannot drive. It encourages investment in the local community. It provides access to job. It provides choice on how to travel, and it's fun to ride. Let's move on to the fourth topic, energy performance. Our city's electricity is only based on renewable one, with some renewable resource like wind turbines, sea turbines, and solar panels. You may think that this won't be enough for everybody to access, but we have an energy plant that comprises 75% for daily life and 25% will be stored for emergency, like shortage of electricity. Let's move on to the fifth topic, water and air quality, clean air, clean water, clean life. Here are some eco solutions like garbage patch that removes the waste from the sea and lamppost with air purifier that purifies the air. Here's a pollution pyramid with points. These points are calculated on the basis of carbon dioxide. If the company got 0 to 50 points, it means the company is a good company. And if it exceeds more than 201 points, then this company is an awful company. Let's move on to the sixth topic, technological advances. In this topic, first we are going to see the relation between science, society, and technology. Society and technology demands more than science. Science seeks to improve to society and informs technology. Technology makes the life easier to society and society benefits from technology. Technologies create the medical smart reforms that reduce the critical situations in medical field and it creates a smart education like virtual lab, digital library, gamification, and simulation. Let's move on to the seventh topic, well-being. Grow strong for healthy life. Here are some technologies for mobility impairment. And for the well-being of everyone, we have a smartwatches for blind, for deaf, and for old people. Steps to be taken. Here are some 3 steps. Step number 1, teaching children how to be careful with the environment. Schools should do more activities related to environment health and be aware about consequences of climate change. I have to conclude my presentation by everything is a choice. Having a circular economy is a choice. Creating a sustainable surrounding is a choice. Afforestation is a choice as well as deforestation is a choice. So choose wisely and have a healthy planet. Thank you. And I like to thank my teachers, my friends, my parents and grandsir who have helped me to create this success with this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you,
Very good.
Shashika. That was an excellent presentation.
Thank you very much, Shasika. Does anybody have any questions for Shasika? We're actually running a few minutes ahead of schedule, a rare event in conferences. And so good job, everybody, keeping your presentation under the 15-minute limit. And please put your questions into Q&A for Shasika and answer the poll for the audience award. When this poll finishes, we'll take a brief break for 20 minutes. Okay, the last few seconds here for the poll, if you haven't voted yet. And again, at the culmination of this poll, we will take a 20-minute break. So you can refill your coffee cups, stretch your arms and legs, and we'll see you back here in 20 minutes. Thank you very much to all of you for your attendance today.
Yes. And
thank you.
Yeah. So 20 minutes break means we will be back around 5 minutes to 5 p.m. in Hong Kong.
Thank you. I'm Aris from Team 7, and this is our presentation about our GRUEN project. Thank you all for coming, and we hope you enjoy it. Here's the table of contents. We uphold this belief throughout the process. Nature is not a place to visit, it is home. So this is Hong Kong, and the other orange spot is Anshade. As you can see, those places are far away from each other. Therefore, you can imagine there's many differences between those two cities. In this presentation, we are also going to cover them. All of us engaged in idea generation, while some of us produced a video and created a PowerPoint. Landfills and incineration without recycling is very common during processes like this. Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and harmful substances come into the environment. Not only do these harmful substances cause respiratory diseases, but also contribute much to climate change. That's why we need good waste management. In our GRUEN, we will have recycling scheme. Besides having a lot of containers for paper, plastic, and kitchen waste and regulations, we will provide mandatory public education commencing at kindergarten. In particular, we have an underground waste vacuum system to maximize land usage. In Anshade, we have DEVTA. It stimulates every inhabitant of Anshade to produce as little as possible residual waste. as it runs on producer responsibility scheme basis. All the residual waste goes to TWENS. TWEN is a sustainable waste processor. By burning the residual waste, we make green electricity out of it. It is used immediately by inhabitants in the whole area. In Hong Kong, we also came up with solutions to reduce litter. In recent decades, Hong Kong established her first food waste recovery center and sludge treatment facility. We incorporate these concepts into our GRUEN. The key is recycle, education, and conversion of energy. So about the clean water, due to the geographical limits, Hong Kong doesn't have enough fresh water supply to meet the current demand. So we import fresh water. In 2020, about 70 to 80% of water comes from Dongjiang. In the Netherlands, 60% of drink water comes from underground water sources. The other 40% is from Ryan and the Mills River. In our GRUEN, we will reuse our rainwater and set up a water cleaning system. There are a lot of organizations that are cleaning the waters in the Netherlands and in Europe and ensure a cleaner society. So why do we clean water? The reason is simple. Fixing water systems is an example of what the fight against climate change ultimately needs to look like. Upgrading and improving our infrastructure in a manner that benefits a new and improved ecosystem. Further, our water systems are using technologies which all have modern improvements that have been widely deployed. These solutions use less energy and avoid expensive mistakes through better planning. We embrace these solutions like investing in affordable energy and upgrading our clean water systems. So, for the air quality, referring to the IQ's Air's report in 2018, Hong Kong came in 34th in the global ranking of world's most polluted countries. Cases of asthma have soared in recent years due to the bad air quality. The air pollution is mainly contributed by transportation and power plants. In the Netherlands, there is a lot of carbon dioxide in the air. More than 18,000 construction projects and farmers have to stop working, and this brings great economic impacts. In GRUEN, we dedicate to reduce emission in factories. We would use hydrogen to produce the manufacturing activities as it doesn't have any emission. In Anshade, we have many sustainable projects and companies. We also need to plant more trees so that there is less carbon in the air. We try to recycle so that we have less CO2. This brings to the new prompt. So we will have a bicycle jogging track where the public can enjoy both sports in the shared space in the promenades. The transportation in GRUEN will involve a high proportion of hydrogen. For waste, we have covered that before, so let's jump into these photos. For the air, clean energy is really important. So for the windmills, we'll generate the electricity. In Netherlands, over 80% of energy is still generated by burning coal and petroleum. That is a bad way to generate electricity. First, it causes global warming. The melting Arctic ice, drought, and food crisis, all you can think about will happen. The another problem is that we are running out of fossil fuels. So that's why we have to use green energy. We propose wind energy. Neither does it involve any carbon emission nor involving in a huge running cost. This would effectively enhance the economic sustainability in our GRUEN. People are against windmills because of noises and the lack of coastal winds. Setting the wind farm in the offshore and remote areas in our GRUEN will solve that problem. Though the setup cost is massive now, but I believe in the future we will find a way to build cheaper ones. So we need windmills in remote areas like here and the creative designs. Another important criteria for a smart and green city, I think, is accessible buildings and public areas. As the society is more diversified, accessibility should be taken into consideration when designing green cities to cater the citizens' needs. Accessibility buildings are designed according to user experience. For instance, special toilets designed for disabled, yet accessibility is not confined to serving the minorities, as the design shall meet the user's needs. Our GRUEN adapt natural lighting to the majority of homes and offices. Utilizing daylight as natural lighting can illuminate the area with minimal electricity used. Moreover, the user's mental health will be improved as the environment is natural-like. For public areas, our GRUEN will have an urban swimming area at the waterfront. The area takes up less space and is more accessible than traditional beaches. This can free up spaces and offer more recreational facilities. As the pollution density soars, as the population density soars, the parks in the center of GRUEN can be a solution. A botanic park with inbuilt child playground meets the families and the general public's need. While the botanic park features a waterfall, the basement serves a playground with a slide sprawling across 3 floors. Children and parents could find a quick getaway from the hustle and bustle of the city lives. Designing the public areas and accessible buildings to restore a natural environment is, in fact, the best way to improve the mental health and productivity. Here's some pictures about the crowded area in Hong Kong and the lack of natural lighting. So for the green areas, the global population will increase persistently. This revelation indicates an urgent demand for green areas. So to fulfill the recreational need and restore health, as population grows, the demand for energy increases. Take China as an example. Chip fields are used in great proportion to cope with the drastically increasing population at the expense of the citizens' health. Green areas in the city can be anything. Green areas enhance air quality in open fields. Rows of trees are planted. According to World Health Organization, the trees filter the harmful particles and cleanse the air. Thus, open reserves to help soothe respiratory diseases and merit one's well-being. Green areas help moderate temperatures. Plantation in urban open areas, such as urban forests and vertical forests, residential tower can help maximize the green coverage. Bosco Venticale in Milan has been a rather exemplary example. The whole tower becomes an ecosystem. It can absorb the heat efficiently, which can reduce the cost by opening air conditioner. The plantation covering the GRUEN is the ideal picture. The greenery exists from commercial buildings to residential areas. For instance, the rooftop can be built like a greenhouse with varied botanic, herbs, and vegetables. To improve mental health, urban forests can be built in the core areas of commercial districts. Here's our videos.
En die kinderen, hoe oud zijn die dan daar? Ria?
Nee hoor.
We'll check about the other video about the differences of transportation in Anshade and in Hong Kong. So by comparing, we can see that Hong Kong, unlike Anshade, we rely on vehicles a lot and we seldom use bicycle to travel, and so that our air pollution is more serious than Anshade. So here's our ideas. We think that good information and waste management, reuse rainwater, no pollution, more trees, improve air quality, windmill islands, natural lighting system, waterfront urban swimming area, botanic and children park, green buildings and roofs, self-sufficient communities are very important in a green city. Here's are some concept arts and I'll flip over them. So our process and collaboration, for myself, I think the teamwork was good. We had a WhatsApp app group and we discussed a lot, even though the time difference between us is quite great, but we can still discuss in a friendly time and we can amend our works and finish the project on time. So the next page is the sources of information. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation, and I would like to thank our group mates in Netherlands. They are Faya, Anna, Maria, and Priyanka. Due to the COVID-19 virus, they cannot join this project anymore. But I think I need to thank them because they have worked a lot and they put their efforts in this project. I really want to thank them, and I have to thank GRUEN give me that chance to cooperate with students from another countries. So thank you very much. This is the end of my presentation.
Very good. Right to the second on 15 minutes. So
Thank you very much.
congratulations.
Very good. Thank you.
That was excellent timing there from Angela in Hong Kong. And as she said, she has 4 teammates from the Netherlands and another classmate from the same school in Hong Kong. 8 is up. Charlotte Braun from Berlin in Germany will be presenting. Other teammates from Hong Kong, the Netherlands, and another from Germany. So you have the poll for audience voting for about 2.5 more minutes.
Okay, now you're on. All right.
So Charlotte will be presenting from the same school where I think it was Annika had the audio problem, and they're using a phone connection for the audio. So Charlotte, please wait for about another 2 minutes until the poll is finished for audience appreciation voting. And then we'll begin your presentation for group 8. Charlotte, would you like to share your screen?
Can you hear me?
Yes, the audio is working, but you should share your screen when you're ready, and then we'll wait for another minute or so.
Doing that.
Yes, I can see it. Thank you.
Visible? Okay. Start my video.
Yes, you might want to go full screen on that PowerPoint.
Great.
All right. So we have a little bit more time for the poll, for the audience to show their appreciation for that excellent presentation from Group 7. Can we see the poll results on the screen? Evelina?
A few more seconds to go and then we will share them.
Okay, very good. All right. There's the polling results for Group 7. And we can close the poll results. And Charlotte, whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you. Right, so my name is Charlotte. I'm from Berlin, and I will be presenting for Team 8. So, slide. So we decided to focus on 3 main points that we thought would be most important and most realistic to sort of use in cities, and we thought it would also be important that these sort of techniques could also be used on already existing cities. So the distribution of tasks, we have Dominica and Britta from the Netherlands who worked on urban farming. Katarina and I were from Germany, and we worked on accessible and environmental public transport. And Wayne and David from Hong Kong worked on reducing meat consumption. Right, so our first topic is urban farming. First I will cover how, then the benefits, and for humans as well as the environment. So how? We noticed that in a lot of cities there are so many unused spaces that just sort of exist, and we thought it would be sort of a great way to give back to nature by converting flat roofs and unused areas all around the city into gardens. This would mean that we could achieve a greater biodiversity in cities, as well as increase just a general amount of plants, which would decrease air, noise, and light pollution. Benefits for us humans, sort of, aside from the obvious environmental benefits, would be that we could grow our own food right here in the city, which would drastically reduce the amount of transport having to be done. You know, right now we have a lot of food that is being imported from warmer countries. The vegetables you eat in winter are often imported from Spain, for example. So that would just sort of mean that you are way closer to your source of produce. For example, in the Netherlands, around 75% of the food is actually imported, and a great deal of food that is produced in the Netherlands is exported to other countries. Environmental benefits of urban gardening include drastic pollution, reduction in pollution. First of all, we have air pollution. The plants obviously could convert the CO2 into oxygen, but they also sort of shelter us from noises. They absorb the noise. So, for example, planting a bunch of plants on rooftop gardens would reduce the noise above cities, and it would also increase biodiversity within cities, meaning that we have much more space for birds and insects, for example, to live and grow and be able to develop. Other benefits include isolation on buildings. So as you can see in this picture, it's sort of covered in these vines, and it helps isolate the building. So as the climate grows warmer, the plants actually help isolate and cool the inside. As many houses in Europe, for example, don't have air conditioning. And at the same time, it would help in winter to sort of keep the heat inside. Our next topic is environmental transport. So the first question is how to make transport environmentally friendly. So we have 3 main points for that. The first is imposing a CO2 tax. Then we have car sharing, and lastly, we have electronic public transport. So to start us off, this is only a transition model that we would implement to sort of transition everyone into using more environmentally friendly transport. So a CO2 tax is already being used in several places, and it's working all right, I would say. but there are always certain ways to improve them, and really following through on the CO2 tax would help encourage people immensely towards switching to more environmental ways of transport. Car sharing is a very big thing already. In Berlin, for example, you can go outside and you can log into an app, and then usually it'll tell you where the next car sharing car is parked, and you can then use it for the day. So it is an insanely attractive offer for people, especially for students and college students who cannot afford their own vehicles yet. So the ultimate goal here is to sort of make all cars shared and part of public transport, actually, which would mean that it's less expensive for people because you don't have to afford your own car, and you also don't have to buy your own parking when you move into somewhere. For example, you have to buy spots in parking garages right now, which would just fall away because all parking spots would be for public use. It would also increase community because you could share rides, for example, with your neighborhood or with friends. So it'd be, sort of like a more private small bus. Lastly, we have electric transport. So 17% of the world's buses right now are electric. And in Berlin, for example, we are slowly transitioning to have more and more buses in the public transport fleet. So 2014 was when this phase started. And as you can see, we had 29 buses in the entire sort of city going around that were electric. And by 2016, it was already 290. So it's going steadily up, and they're very quiet. I've been on a couple myself, so they're very quiet, they're very comfortable, and it's sort of, a very nice thing to have. In London, on the other hand, they are transitioning their trains to be more electric rather than using diesel fuel. So yeah, benefits of this include less air and especially less noise pollution. Like, you will notice that electric buses and trains are way more quiet than the ones that use other fuels. Now, as research has shown, just providing attractive sort of options for public transport is often not enough. And so there are certain additional changes that we thought of to make these sort of the cities more attractive for public transport. So the first of these is having a high population density. Having a high population density means that sort of everything grows closer together and you have less space in between the places that you need to be, which means more people would actually, feel able to walk and be able to walk. Of course, the problem here is that you don't want the population density to get too high, but in order to sort of balance out people walking, a lot of people have suggested that you add more green areas to the streets. So adding trees along the streets, adding green passageways would help encourage people to actually walk more. Traffic calming is also a very big sort of idea that we had, which is initially meant to sort of ease the segregation between the vehicles and traffic. So right now, we would say that cars largely dominate traffic and streets are often built for cars. But this is, traffic calming is designed to sort of end that segregation. So we do this by adding sidewalk extensions and narrowing streets to sort of slow down cars, and especially to remove that barrier between cars and cyclists, for example. So if cars are not exactly sure who is the dominant person in this traffic in the street, they are shown to slow down and they cause way less accidents. And then lastly, we have shared spaces. Shared spaces in streets are sort of a approach in urban design that minimizes the segregation, again, between motor vehicles and bikes and pedestrians. So by removing such things as curbs and road surface markings and traffic lights, they create a harmony between the traffic participants. and many traffic engineers have suggested that this sort of uncertainty again between sort of who is in charge here makes everyone reduce speed. And around Europe, around 400 towns and cities have actually started using these shared spaces. There's one around my house. And since then, they have reported both accidents and speeding rates have dropped drastically. So here we have some nice examples of the sort of barrier-less sidewalks and the streets being a little smoother, and yeah, very, very nice. Right, and then the last topic is meat consumption. Now, in the wake of our climate crisis, people still consume meat and dairy in insane amounts. And food production itself is facing a bottleneck due to, among others, environmental pollution, climate change, the spread of invasive species, depleting of natural resources, the heavy use of pesticides, herbicides, and antibiotics, and large-scale deforestation. Producing one hamburger, for example, uses enough fossil fuel to drive a small car for 20 miles. Of all raw materials and fossil fuel used in the US, more than 1/3 is devoted to raising animals for food. Precious land, crop, and water are used to raise animals who graze and pollute streams, for example. Globally, animal agriculture is responsible for more greenhouse gases than all the world's transportation system combined. So here on our presentation, we have a little stat for you. Currently, there are about 23 billion chickens, 1.5 billion cows, and roughly 1.5 billion pigs and sheep being raised and fed for consumption. Therefore, to make our food more environmentally friendly, reducing meat consumption is an urgent point, we think. And seeing that I say we as people from sort of, who live in cities, middle class, upper middle class people, we can often afford alternatives to meat. And therefore, it should be our duty to sort of, be able to switch to a more healthier way of living, to a more meat-reduced lifestyle, whereas people from poorer regions would actually depend on meat and they cannot afford alternatives. If all resources that we use to raise animals were not used for that cause, we could actually nourish an additional 3.5 billion people. And yeah, as mentioned, meat is not the most sustainable food good. It also has very little nutrition conversion efficiency. So cows only convert 4% of the proteins and 3% of the calories of the plants we feed into them. And yeah, here we have the water stat again. Right, so in our sustainable utopia, sort of, we would encourage our citizens to move away from a meat-based and meat-centered diet. And this would start by educating students in school how to live on a sustainable diet and how to find different alternatives for protein and such. Also, we would encourage to buy from local producers and local, for example, farms, and to just support food sources that do not use a lot of traveling. Of course, people who have trouble with these sort of big transitions in their diet would be supported in their transition as well. So the idea is to sort of make them switch first from beef and lamb, which are the most impacting meat sources, to chicken and pig, which are less, obviously still substantially impacting to the environment, but they're less impacting, and then sort of make that transition from eating only chicken and pig to eating less and less and less and less, and then finally ending up with a more plant-centered diet. After all, generations before us have been living on mostly plant-based diets where sort of meat and dairy and eggs were reserved for special occasions. Right. So these are sort of the main points that we thought would be very important, but also the most realistic to sort of change in an urban environment. We hope you enjoyed our presentation, and yeah, I hope you guys sort of learned a little something. And we would also like to thank all the organizers of this project for the incredible chance to work together and to implement our ideas.
Very good, Charlotte. And I think it's a strong message we're seeing from a lot of the presentations, is that meat is not only bad for individuals, but bad for the planet. So well done. And good job finishing under the time limit. So
Thank you.
that was Charlotte's. Anybody have any questions for her to type into Q&A while we do the audience poll? Charlotte's based out of the Nelson Mandela School in Berlin, as well as her teammate Katharina. And then there's 2 teammates from Hong Kong and 2 from the Netherlands. All right, there's the poll. And I do see a question in Q&A. Any questions for Charlotte or her group?
So I'm now sharing my screen.
Next presentation will be Group 9, with King He as the presenter and Samson as the backup. They're both based in Hong Kong, and their 4 teammates are all from the Netherlands: Attila, Duncan, Emma, and Vara.
The poll result?
I'm not so sure whether I'm muted or not.
You're not muted. No, we can hear you,
I'm
Evelina.
muted.
So can I share screen now?
Yes, you can share your screen to prepare. Please do, King He.
Can I start now?
Not
just wait a
yet.
bit, please.
Okay.
You are successfully sharing your screen. But let's, there's the poll results for Group 8. And all right. So if there's no more questions, then we'll get started with Group 9, King He. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello everyone, I'm Thomas Chen King He, and I'm from Team 9. Samson and I are from Hong Kong, and coincidentally, the other 4 teammates are from the Netherlands. Today, we are going to cover 3... sorry.
That is his audio. I think that he was the same in practice, so we'll just have to go with it. That's okay, King He. Turn up your audio, please, listeners, if you need a louder audio.
Okay. Or speak a little
Okay.
slower. Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry. Okay. So today we are going to cover 3 main environmental issues, namely clean air, clean water, and the waste of water. For each environmental issue, we will break down them into 3 parts. First part is the problem associated with the issue. The second part is our ideas to alleviate these problems. The third part is our solutions in Sim City. Let's go on with clean air. The first problem we are facing is that there is an increasing release of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. This problem has 3 main contributing factors. The first factor is increased human activity. Why is this so? In recent years, according to this graph, the world's population has grown by more than 4 billion people. And first, the increasing population drastically increase the human activity, including farming, transportation, manufacture of building materials, turning on air conditioners, heaters, etc. The second contributing factor is increasing burning of fossil fuels to generate more energy. As mentioned, as there is an increasing population in the world, and in order to deal with increasing energy demand, increased burning of fossil fuels is vital. And the increased burning of fossil fuels, there's always a large amount of carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, particulates, etc. released to the atmosphere and cause severe environmental pollution. The third contributing factor is deforestation. According to this photo taken on the 25th of August in 2018 in China, we can see a large amount of forest has been removed just because to deal with the increasing demand of housing. And according to an article published in the Biomed Central, the loss of forest lands account for 20% of global carbon dioxide emissions. Therefore, deforestation will increase the release of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere to a very large extent. According to this graph, since industrialization, the annual total carbon dioxide emissions has skyrocketed to a far high 35 billion tons of carbon dioxide emissions in 2018. It reflects that the environmental issues is getting more and more severe. And here comes our solutions for this issue. It consists of three ways. The first way is to produce energy using renewable sources by installing more solar panels, which is making good use of solar energy. Installing more wind turbines, making good use of wind energy. Making good use of hydro energy and biofuels to generate electricity. Second, we can maintain the community as green by preserving the mountains in our community, set up as many parks as possible, and utilize the rooftop base to build more rooftop gardens. Third, we can also increase the usage of green transportation by increasing the use of electric cars, green public transport like MTR in Hong Kong, bus and trains in the Netherlands. In Netherlands, since 2017, all electric passenger trains have been powered using green energy. And under the voluntary agreement on zero emission bus transport, all new buses must use 100% renewable energy from 2025 onwards. And the central government there is also working with other parties to explore the possibilities presented by powered by hydrogen oxygen fuel cells. Third, we can also increase the usage of bikes to commute. A case in point is Germany. And there are over 80% of Germans who are using bikes to commute. Our solutions in our green city involve from this picture, we have installed many solar panels. It is actually inspired by the Netherlands. At the end of 2015, there were at least 2,525 onshore wind turbines in Netherlands, generating a total of 3,000 megawatts of electricity. These are around 5% of the Netherlands total requirement, as mentioned in the government website. From these two pictures, we have also added many greeneries like trees, farms, and also rooftop gardens. Here comes the second environmental issue, clean water. And the clean water issue, we are mainly facing the unclean drinking water problem. According to the UNICEF World Health Organization, 1 in every 3 people globally do not have access to safe drinking water. As a result, people living there may get ill and children may die of water illness. According to this figure, it reflects that there are now 844 million people who do not have basic drinking water services. This reflects the seriousness of the problem, water quality. The second problem is plastic oceans. Some marine life may ingest plastic, while some marine life may get trapped by them, and their fate may be death or even or will enter the food chain and will suffer eventually. From this graph, from the Allen MacArthur Foundation, we can see the plastic in the ocean in 2050 will outweigh the fish. And if we don't take action in no time, the problem is getting more and more severe and uncontrollable. Our solution for this issue is to install more clean water taps in the ships in order to provide safe and clean drinking water to everyone. Throughout installing more clean water taps, we can also save clean water. We can also reduce the release of plastic to the environment by reducing the manufacture of plastic products and increase the amount of plastic products being recycled. Therefore, less plastic will end up in the ocean. Third, we can increase the usage of compostable plastics with special industrial processes in high temperatures, high humidity, and aerobic conditions. Without these proper handling methods, they won't decompose into water and carbon dioxide and pose severe threat to ecosystems as traditional plastics do. Our solutions in Sim City is to set up as many water supply facilities as possible as reflected in the reality. The last environmental issue we'll cover today is the waste of water. The first problem is that there is now much clean drinking water wasted annually via households and factories. In households, they are mainly lost through showering, cleaning, and when the taps are left open. In factories, much water is required in every industrial process. Therefore, after each industrial process, a large amount of water is lost. According to this graph from the World Resources Institute, a Cartal forum, you can see the domestic water demand grew 600% from 1960 to 2020 at a significantly faster rate than any other sectors. During the same period, the world's population grew by more than 4 billion, contributing to the sixfold growth in municipal water use. More people, more homes, and growing cities require more water than ever before. We must secure water for the 2.1 billion people who lack accessible, safe drinking water, while using this resource more efficiently to prevent crisis and reduce water stress. Our solutions for these issues involve saving rainwater in tons, and we can use them to water our gardens. Second, we can install pedals for water taps. Therefore, no water will be lost when we don't tap the pedals. Third, we can save used water by using them to flush toilets and mop the floor. Fourth, we can also even promote concept of sustainable consumption. To begin with, do you know how much water is needed to manufacture just one cloth? It's about 2,700 liters water, according to the World Resources Institute. Isn't it hard to imagine? What's more, a 2017 report found that in 2015 alone, the fashion industry consumed 79 billion cubic meters of water, which is enough to fill 32 million Olympic-sized swimming pools. The figure is expected to increase by 50% by 2030. It's actually a staggering amount since Earth's water resources are running low. Therefore, it's vital for us to absorb sustainable consumption by reducing frequency of buying clothes. In other words, extending their lifespan. You can also buy eco-friendly alternative textiles, which require fewer usage of water to manufacture. In our green city, we have installed many pedals. We have also set up the hydroponics farms in order to reduce the usage of water. And so far, we have covered 3 main environmental issues, and I hope you have learned a lot on them. And here comes our communication of the ideas and solutions throughout the project. To conclude, everyone is associated in this project. And here are our roles. Our references. To conclude, I hope the role can really achieve these 17 goals in order to really live a sustainable life in the future. It's the end of our presentation, and we really working on the GRUEN project. And thank you all for listening.
Okay, very good. Another presentation under the wire. No problem on time. All right, King Hey, thank you very much. We'll open the poll for audience feedback. And the next presentation will be Group 11 with Lucia Garcia from Spain, with the backup presenter Victoria Leal, also from Spain. The other 4 members of that Group 11 are from France. On the audio, groups take note. King was using wireless headset, which tends to compress the audio to a narrow frequency band. It'd be preferable to use a wired headset like I'm using. You see this, where the microphone is on a little cable? Or for best audio, I would recommend a headset with a boom mic, a noise canceling boom mic. But this one works pretty well. But if it's a wireless headset, you may suffer some loss of audio quality. All right, we're at 73% voting from the audience. Everybody get your vote in there for King Hey and Group 9. Is Lucia ready to go? Yes, she's a panelist.
Yes.
Very good, Lucia. I can see you. Go ahead and share your screen if you'd like to get ready.
Okay.
Still have at least 1 more minute before you start.
Okay.
That's good. I can see your screen. Can you go full screen on that?
Yes.
That's okay. That's fine the way it is. That's a genially website presentation.
Yes.
Okay, another half a minute. Well, the good news is I'm still awake. It's now 4 in the morning here, I think it was. 5 in the morning. I haven't pulled an all-nighter since I was a 20-year-old. But thank you. 4 cups of coffee, I'm still awake. Okay, there's the poll results. Have a few seconds to look at that. All right. No questions for that group. And Lucia, you're good to go.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Lucia and I'm going to present my project. My group is composed by Victoria Heredia, who is the video producer, designer, and website producer. Raymond Knapp, the writer. Mark Ribaland, who is the researcher. Lea Spack, who is the website producer. And Anna Michel, who is the video producer. First of all, from our point of view, the idea of a green city, the main idea of a green city,
is the healthy environment for our citizens and also the well-being of them. We think that if our city doesn't make happy enough or isn't comfortable enough for the citizens, they will just leave the city. That's why we think that it is very important that we have a 100% sustainable, safe, and healthy city so that our citizens are happy in it. Our city is going to focus on sustainable life. We are going to focus on green spaces and the health of our citizens. Also, all our transport is going to be electric and is going to be powered by renewable energies. On the other hand, we are going to have substitutes to plastics so that we don't pollute, which I will explain later. Moving on, these are our main ideas. We have here we have the city main pillars to create the green city. We have followed have shown a bigger interest in well-being, energy performance,
That's okay, keep going.
air quality, eco-innovation, and biodiversity. Moving on to the next slide. I am going to talk about the well-being of the citizens, which involves green spaces, parks, health, and education. First, I'm going to focus on parks and green areas in our city. Having spaces where you can relax and have fun is very important for them. And being able at the same time to connect with nature. That's why we have decided to create lots of parks where people can go with their family and friends to have a picnic or to go to concerts. In addition, we are going to create some restaurants, museums, and shops and sports centers that will be open for our citizens. Secondly, the health of our citizens is the most important for us. That's why we want to create lots of hospitals around our city. These are some prototypes of hospitals we would like to build. This picture shows a big hospital that we would like to put at the center. And in the other photo, we can see a standard hospital. This photo of a hospital could be for teenagers and kids. As they may be in maybe a bad situation or they have to be a lot of time at the hospital, we would like to have rooms just for them so that their time there is more fun, it's funner. Then we would have another big hospital as a nursing home. Another idea is having special rooms too for the older people. Also, our hospitals would have the best technologies so that all the doctors could work successfully. Finally, we are going to talk about our education system. School transport lanes will be improved by having electric buses for school classes. And our school classes will be based on an eco-friendly system, which involves teaching children how to recycle in good ways. And also, we would do some activities that relate with nature. There will be a subject that is called recycling. And the only website that we would do research is Ecosia. That is a search engine which plants trees whenever you search something. Okay. Also, we would like to have a lot of big libraries so that students can go there and other citizens can go there and study, read a book, and have a good time. Now let's talk about energy performance. Only using renewable energies is a very important thing for a city. All fossil fuel will be eliminated and forbidden. It will be possible, the energy will be possible by using solar panels and wind turbines. Solar energy has got a lot of benefits that I will talk about later. Because as in Spain we have a very good climate, we can use them a lot. And we want to put them in all the houses of our city and in all the public buildings. We will also use hydraulic energy to have electricity. Air quality. For us, it's a really important thing also, because we think that having good air quality is very important for a healthy environment. Public transport plans and reforms are going to make a big difference in air quality, of course. Therefore, in the happiness and health of our citizens. Getting into the public transport topic will be improved. And for higher journeys, our citizens will have airplanes, electric airplanes, and also we are planning on making electric boats like the one that we can see in the picture. On the other hand, public transport such as underground trams must be operated sustainably because we need to keep our ecosystem fine. This means that in public transport, we will keep fossil fuels at 0%. Therefore, we will use electronic waybills. And trains will be mostly operated electronically. We also think that recycling is very important for our green city, especially plastic bottles and plastic bags. We have to stop using them or using other things. For example, we can introduce a machine that makes people recycle more. For example, we can use what they use in Germany. This machine makes people recycle plastic bottles that has been and is very effective because every plastic bottle that a person inserts in the machine turns into 25 cents. So that person brings bottles to recycle them and also get some money for it. Here in Spain, we have a restaurant that is called Aki Sushi that helps the environment by telling their customers that if they
pick up some trash, they would get a free meal. That's what we want to insert in our green city. We want to make people pick up some trash, and we will give them a free meal in all the restaurants of our city. We also think that it's very important to keep our animals and plants good. That's why we want to protect them and take care of them. They won't be abandoned. There won't be any abandoned pets. Now I am going to start talking about the sustainable city. This is our dream of a sustainable city. We also want that the residential zones that we have are very far away from the factories to avoid air pollution and noise, but not too far for the people that work in the factory to go to. That way we'll guarantee the happiness of all our citizens. Finally, this is it. It was amazing to participate in this project and learn a lot of things about sustainability and green cities. Thank you so much. We hope you have enjoyed our presentation. And if there are any questions, please feel free to ask.
Very good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Lucia from Spain.
Yes.
For Group 11. So if you have any questions for her, please type it into the Q&A. And don't forget to vote as the Audience Appreciation Award. Group 12 will be postponed until tomorrow. There was some confusion over the scheduling. So Luke, you're off the hook. Get ready for tomorrow. So we'll call the conference to a close a little earlier than scheduled today.
Okay, so Group 12 is unable to present today, which means that they will present tomorrow as the last one. So yes.
So we'll wait for a couple more minutes for the poll to complete.
We'll wait till the poll is finished, and then there'll be some housekeeping announcements from JC and me for tomorrow and the day after.
So there's a question from Fernanda about the timing for Group 12. And I believe that will be rescheduled to 12:55 p.m. Central European Time tomorrow.
Yes.
Normally, so instead of closing remarks, we'll have Group 12 from Cycle 1. And then after that, we'll have closing remarks tomorrow. So at 12:55 p.m. CET. All right. I think everyone's voted for the poll. Okay, well, that concludes our presentations for today. Thank you very much for your patience and time, and we'll have some housekeeping announcements.
JC? Yeah,
Yeah.
Here it comes. Yeah, okay.
There it is.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Well, I'll turn it over to the admin team at Hong Kong Baptist University to wrap it up.
Right, so thank you for being here today, and the shortlisted groups from today will receive the links to day 2's meeting separately tomorrow. So all of you already have the link for day 2, so see you tomorrow at the same time.
Okay, so tomorrow, just a reminder, we have the keynote from Paul Zimmerman. That is he's one of our judges, and district councillor here in Hong Kong, and also the CEO of Designing Hong Kong. So I'm expecting a very interesting talk from him about Hong Kong and walkability in Hong Kong, about the new trails that have come up. So please be there. We start our session around, I think the conference will go live around 2. The sessions will start with, again, some housekeeping rules around 2:05, 2:10, and then at 2:15, we will start with the keynote speech. So thank you very much for everyone who was there today. I hope I see you tomorrow again. Thank you to our judges for your patience and for your time. And it would be great to see you tomorrow again. So have a good evening, everyone. And till tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.